Those of you in Boston, a special pregame ceremony checking out the retirement of Carlton Fisk's number in Boston as the Red Sox prepare to play baseball with Pedro on the mound.
John, thank you very much. Brian Kenny, Peter Gammon's here with you, and again, we'll get you out to Fenway Park as soon as the ceremonies begin. Carlton Fisk, number 27, being retired today. A lot went into this because there were very hard feelings, Peter, and we dealt with this when we were talking to Carlton in Cooperstown. It had some very bad feelings going back against the Red Sox, but eventually the fences were mended. He's now working with the Red Sox, and he said he didn't realize how much it meant to him to go back to Fenway Park. This is important to him.
Well, it really was. And there was, in the piece on Carlton Fisk, there was mentioned, I think it was Dan Shaughnessy, the Globe, who said, next to Babe Ruth, this was the most bitter departure. And it tore apart New England fans, because this is a regional franchise, and it's, it's clearly as much the Charlestown, New Hampshire Red Sox as the Boston Red Sox. But that was an ownership thing. Haywood Sullivan at the time was in control of ownership. He and Carlton did not exactly see eye to eye. Haywood did not get along with Jerry Kapstein, his agent. There was a split. When John Harrington got control of the team, one of the things he tried to do was to make sure that somehow Pudge got returned to the fold. Ironically, John Harrington, who was out of baseball, was brought back in by the Yawkey Foundation just to try to bring back Fisk. So, in effect, Fisk got his revenge because Harrington ended up owning the team because of Carlton Fisk.
The Fisk bringing him back in. Also, you look ahead to the future, and you're going to have Roger Clemens and Wade Boggs, and people think of them as being Red Sox, much the way they think of Carlton Fisk being a Red Sox player, but who knows when they go to Cooperstown, how they're going to go in.
Well, one of the good things about the Red Sox is they don't put Harold Baines up, they don't retire his number, Randy Jones's number. You've got to be in the Hall of Fame, you've got to play 10 consecutive years for the Red Sox. Good, it's the way it should be. It should be like the Yankees or the Montreal Canadiens or the great class franchises. But, Boggs fulfills that criteria. Clemens fulfills that criteria. Now, we know that each of them have deals that, Boggs is going to go in a Tampa Bay Devil Rays hat. Clemens is going into the Yankees hat. That's part of this current contract. But, I still think the Red Sox will end up retiring those numbers. There's a way of, having some sort of happiness when they all go, and I think in both cases they should have their numbers retired in Boston.
As the guys get older, too. By the way, I had conversations with the people at the Baseball Hall of Fame this summer, and they said eventually they're going to have to make their decisions. Maybe, the logos just go off, because now you're going to see players more and more with a couple of different teams getting into the Baseball Hall of Fame. We take a break right now. Once again, Carlton Fisk Day at Fenway Park. We will take you to Boston. We'll be back right after this. Carlton Fisk, he is voted into the Baseball Hall of Fame in his second year of eligibility. More games behind the plate than anyone in the history of the game. We take you out now to Fenway Park. It is Carlton Fisk Day. His number 27 is to be retired. Sean McDonough is the master of ceremonies.
And he is a real, authentic Hall of Famer. That's right, Ted. He's a New Englander. Carlton is one of us. And Carlton, we're all with you today. It's so comforting to know that from this day forward, you'll always be with us whenever we do battle at Fenway Park. On behalf of all us New Englanders, congratulations, Pudge. Thank you for having the courage to commit to your dreams and the determination and drive to fulfill them. God, we are so proud to see a local kid's number in right field.
Thank you, Dan. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming the Chief Executive Officer of the Boston Red Sox, Mr. John Harrington.
Thank you, Sean, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and all our youngsters here with us today. This is truly a most significant day in the long and storied history of the Boston Red Sox franchise. There is no professional sports team that has the remarkable heritage and tradition that the Red Sox enjoy. In addition to being a baseball institution, the Red Sox heritage in New England is unparalleled compared to any region in the country or world, and the 4 numbers that have been displayed in right field are a great symbol of that unique Red Sox heritage. Joe Cronin's number 4, Bobby Doerr's number 1, Ted Williams's number 9, Carl Yastrzemski's number 8, and today fellow native New Englander, Carlton Pudge Fisk's number 27. These 5 players, the greatest players in Red Sox history, all have a common thread. All 5 are significant elements of the Yawkey era in Red Sox history since Joe Cronin joined Tom Yawkey's Red Sox in 1934. Through Bobby, Ted, Yaz, and the memorable days of Carlton playing on Tom and Gene Yawkey's ball clubs. Although Tom and Gene Yawkey are not here with us in person, I'm sure they're here in spirit, watching this ceremony. And I guarantee that they are smiling at the reality that Carlton Fisk has come home and will be with us here at Fenway Park amongst the greatest Red Sox players of all time, forever. Carlton, thank you for providing us all great Red Sox memories. And again, welcome home. Ladies and gentlemen, I now direct your attention to the facade in the right field grandstand, where we will unveil the number 27 for Carlton Pudge Fisk.
Doesn't that number look right at home? And thank you, John, for your heartfelt remarks. Our next presenter is a man who has already experienced the thrill of having his number retired here at Fenway Park. Number 8, the great Carl Yastrzemski.
Thank you very much. I'm here today because Carlton Fisk was a very special baseball player. He had great dedication, mental and physical toughness, and a determination to win. Pudge overcame 3 serious injuries to go on to a Hall of Fame career. We had some great Red Sox teams in the 1970s, and Pudge was a big reason why. He played the game. He played the game the right way, both behind the plate and with the bat. Pudge earned his way into the Hall of Fame for years of performance excellence. Today, his number 27 is being retired, deservedly so. As a former teammate, and on behalf of the Red Sox organization, I present to you, Pudge, this framed Red Sox number 27. Congratulations.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, the man of the hour, Carlton Fisk.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I can't tell you how good it is to be home. What a special feeling this is. Thank you. There's a few people I'd like to thank. One especially, and that's John Harrington, who opened the doors of communication to me after all these years. And Dan Duquette for accepting me back and allowing me to be a part of this organization. Today started a long time ago. I grew up in New Hampshire, in a little small town, about 900 people, 38 people in my graduating class. This is the culmination of all these years of work. That is where today started. Being a New Englander has helped me be a professional athlete, be a major league player, and maybe especially to be a Hall of Fame player. The roots of New England were with me every step of the way. I hope that I can be an inspiration to other New Englanders, other New Hampshire boys and young men, that they too could be standing here. Everybody has a dream. My dream was to wear a Boston Celtics uniform, but that stadium's just over there. We're just on the other side of the city, so to wear a Red Sox uniform was equally special. And to have the things done, to come here and see the Green Monster, and to be a part of this whole tremendous feeling. As everybody here remembers, our rivalry with the Yankees in the 70s will be equaled at no other time in the history of the game. There was such an intensity in that rivalry that defined this team, defined that team, and I can guarantee you there was never another feeling like that for them or for us. I think we all know what we're talking about there. I'm happy that my family is able to be here. My kids are now adults, and they are experiencing this ballpark for what it truly is. One of the grand old ballparks of the game, one of the greatest organizations in the history of the game, with the greatest fans in the history of the game. I'd like to thank the Boston Red Sox, as I said, especially John Harrington and Dan Duquette for all these awards and honors. To have my name up there to be viewed forever with some of the greatest players that have ever played the game. The greatest player that I played with that taught me how to play, taught us how to play in the 70s when we had the young teams. We had Fred Lynn and Jim Rice and Rooster and Dewey and Rico and Reggie and Cecil and all these guys. This man right here, Carl Yastrzemski, taught us how to play the game of baseball. People ask me who the greatest player was that I ever played with. Carl Yastrzemski. And I appreciate all your I'd
like to make special to one very special person. Of course, I have a special relationship with all my pitchers. The most special pitcher, the most special relationship I ever had with a pitcher, Louis Tiant. The most fun person, the most excellent person I ever caught. This is truly an honor. It's truly an award. It wouldn't happen without my wife, Linda. I don't think I'd have been the player I was if I didn't know that she took care of my babies the way she did. I always felt that there was a right way and a wrong way to play the game. And I feel as though that I gave it my best effort to carry the torch for the game, carry the torch for New Englanders and people from New Hampshire. I hope that people can look to me and my career, like I look to Yaz and his career, as we all looked to Ted and his career. To be part of this organization, to be back home, is especially thrilling, especially satisfying, and especially to see my name and my number under the Jimmy Fund sign out there to be retired. I thank you for allowing me to come back home. I am a New Englander, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
Boys and girls, to make this day complete, Carlton Fisk will now pull out today's ceremonial first pitch to his favorite pitcher and former teammate, El Tiante. Ladies and gentlemen, Louis Tiant.
Oh, wonderful moment there. Brian Kenny and Peter Gammons here with you. I was waiting for Carlton to go into the Tiante and then come out and do that sort of thing. Your thoughts? You guys broke in around the same time. You were a young beat writer, and Carlton was coming up as a rookie.
Same month, September of 1971. That toughness that Fisk had, I mean, he had no tolerance for things, a very uncompromising person. I remember one time at the start of the 1979 or 1980 season, 1980, he was hurt, missed the first two games of the series. They got buried 2 games in Milwaukee with a score of 11-7 and then 15-1. Sixto Loscano hit 3 home runs diving out over the plate. And I remember at dinner that Saturday night, Fisk saying, look, I can't stand to watch this. Went to Zimmer the next morning and said, I'm sorry. The doctor says I can't play for a month. I'm playing today. Second batter of the game is Sixto Loscano. Bob Stanley buried him with a fastball in the ribs, and Red Sox went on to win and had a pretty good season.
That toughness, by the way, coming from his dad, Cecil. You saw Cecil and Leona, both his parents still alive and there to enjoy the day to see their son get his number retired. By the way, Jackie Robinson, that's the 42 that you see up there. Other than that, Joe Cronin, Bobby Doerr, Ted Williams, Carl Yastrzemski, and now Carlton Fisk. The number's retired for the Boston Red Sox. We'll take a break right now. We will come back, and again, get ready for Pedro Martinez to take on the Seattle Mariners. We'll be back right after this. coming out. And we wonder, Yastrzemski doesn't come out for just anybody. He come out in Cooperstown. Even in Baseball Hall of Fame, we weren't sure, is Yastrzemski going to come out for Carlton Fisk? He came out and even spoke, so there's a measure of respect, Peter.
It does, and I think it means a lot to Boston fans to have Louis Tiant come back. A lot of younger fans have no idea that Louis Tiant was the guy that really electrified Fenway Park in the 70s. He was a far more popular figure than Roger Clemens. Matter of fact, Bobby Cox was saying last year when he saw Pedro, it was the first time he had seen a pitcher since Tiant where the fans would go quite as crazy. It started in 1972 when the Red Sox went from last to almost win the division. Every time Tiant would walk out to the bullpen, the entire stands in Fenway Park would stand up and start chanting Louis, Louis, and that famous walk that he'd have each game in from the bullpen. That's how all that started. And Pedro, it's almost like he's the grandson of Louis Tiant, who I thought was the best money pitcher in the American League in the 70s.
I'll tell you, I enjoy my time sitting out here with you because we were at Cooperstown together, and while watching the ceremonies, Peter's got, you know, a story about just about everybody. And here, the one that you dropped on me here, you said, hey, Lou Pinella's in the dugout. I hope he doesn't come charging out. You saw we had footage of Piniella and Fisk brawling with the Mariners. You got Piniella right there in the dugout. He's watching this.
That was the fight in which Bill Lee got hurt in New York in June of 1976. But it started, Piniella tried to break up Fisk by putting his cleats in Fisk's chest, and Pudge put the baseball right in Pinella's mouth. They did play hard then, too.
They did indeed. Again, Labor Day baseball on ESPN2 and ESPN. You've got 5 different games to choose from. The Mariners and the Red Sox are ready to come your way. It'll be Dave O'Brien and Harold Reynolds with the call. We hope you enjoy that one. Pedro Martinez versus Jamie Moyer. I'm Brian Kenny from Peter Gammons. It's been our pleasure. Enjoy the game, everybody. Bye-bye.
ESPN2's presentation of Major League Baseball is brought to you by Best Buy. When you're looking for more fun in your life, turn on the fun with the latest in digital technology at Best Buy.
Fenway, Boston and Seattle's crucial game in the playoff picture is the backdrop to a man named Pedro. How do you define baseball's best pitcher? Wicked stuff. Batter's box paralysis. Summer heat. Serious head games. And if you're lucky, maybe a hit or two. This afternoon, amid September pressure, the Seattle Mariners face the game's supreme test. It's another tense autumn in New England, and on a cloudy afternoon at Fenway Park in Boston, the playoff pursuit will tie together the Red Sox and Seattle Mariners in this Labor Day get-together. Now, even though the Mariners once held a 7-game lead in the West nearly disappeared in August, Seattle has rebounded right at the edge of disaster to take 2 of the first 3 at Fenway. The Red Sox, well, they've dropped 2 behind the Indians in that wide-open wild card race where it appears the last man standing will be playing in October. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Dave O'Brien along with Harold Reynolds. Thanks for joining us on this Labor Day. It's been a festive affair so far at Fenway Park in Boston. What with the retirement of the number 27 worn by Carlton Fisk, no one will ever wear the number again, the Red Sox greatest catcher of all time. But for the Red Sox, well, they have pitched the wrong time to start slumping. They've lost a couple of games here to Seattle. They're in a month that is just deadly for them. They've got 3 doubleheaders, only 1 day off, and that's later on in September 25th. So things aren't going terribly well for the Red Sox right now. But, Harold, they have the right man on the mound for all that ails them. They've got the ace of aces in Pedro Martinez today.
Well, anytime you're in trouble, you call Superman, right? I mean, that's Pedro Martinez. He has been the Superman for the Boston Red Sox. Let's go back and look at his last outing against Tampa Bay. First pitch inside to Gerald Williams. He'll try to shake you up. The thing I like about Pedro, he's resilient. He continues to fight through. He'll move the ball in and out. He's got the great changeup. He's got a super fastball. He was in the mid-90s in that game. You know what? You bring kryptonite to stop Superman. Well, maybe breaking Pedro's chain is the key to beating him. They finally get a base hit, but it's tough to beat him. They end up getting a base hit, but they don't beat him in the ball game. But Pedro continues to just be masterful. You see the line right there, 9 innings, 1 hit, 13 Ks. He had an overpowering fastball to go with the nasty changeup. Those are the things that really make it tough on a hitter.
And in the near no-hitter against Tampa Bay, it wasn't until he broke that chain that he finally gave up a hit in the ninth inning. Doesn't give up too many hits to Seattle. You look at the heart of their lineup and some great hitters, and they scuffle like crazy against him, but that's nothing new.
Well, it really isn't anything new because he's mastered almost every hitter in the game. But what he has done against Alex Rodriguez and Edgar Martinez is quite a surprise because he's been able to master these two. Edgar, 0.71 lifetime. You just don't hear that. And Alex at 214. But Pedro does a great job of moving the ball in and out. You can't actually sit on a specific pitch when you face him, and that's why he is so dominant. These two guys are great at sitting on a pitch, being able to pick out what they want to get off a certain pitcher and hit it and be effective, and they haven't been able to master Pedro in that way yet.
As you can see, Alex Rodriguez, A-Rod, has had a lot of problems facing this man in his career. So has everybody else in the American and the National Leagues. He talked about what it might take to beat him today.
Well, I think it's a great challenge. I mean, anytime you face the Clemens of the world, the Pedro Martinez of the world, you try to get up for those type of games and give it your best effort. I mean, pretty much you try to stay away from their dominant pitches with 2 strikes. And the key, I think, is not trying to do too much against those type of pitchers.
So that's Pedro Martinez and Alex Rodriguez. They'll be pitching up against each other today, Seattle and the Red Sox, as they conclude their 4-game series. And we've got it coming up for you on ESPN2 right after this. Along with Harold Reynolds, and under cloudy skies and misty conditions, the Red Sox trying to right their ship with Pedro Martinez on the mound. The Red Sox ace at 15-4, taking on Jamie Moyer, who lost to the Red Sox on opening day. This guy, Pedro, has never lost, Harold, to the Seattle Mariners. He's 6-0 lifetime. And because we had rain in the forecast today, neither club could take any batting practice. Pedro, of course, delayed a little bit warming up out in the bullpen because of the Carlton Fisk number 27 retirement ceremonies. What kind of advantage does this give Pedro? I mean, it's September. Maybe batting practice is a little bit overrated, but how much does it hurt Seattle?
Oh, I think it's a huge advantage for Pedro. I remember a couple times you come into Fenway, and I had to face Roger Clemens on Sunday morning. Basically, that's what it is for a West Coast team. It's a morning game to them. It's not necessarily afternoon, and you don't take batting practice. What happens in batting practice, it gets a chance to get the blood flowing. You loosen up. You see some pitches. You take some swings. It's not the same as maybe going down to the cage. Plus, it forces the whole team to get down there. Individually, certain individuals might go down there, but it's a big difference to take batting practice, and then facing Pedro on no BP is difficult.
The Seattle club had its problems coming into Boston, of course, during that stretch in August where they lost 13 out of 15 games. Their lead in the West almost entirely disappeared, but it seems they've gotten it back together against the Red Sox. You talked with Lou Piniella at length this morning.
Well, one of the things Lou and I were discussing was the fact that everything fell apart at the same time. Their defense fell out, their pitching. He said, look, the one thing about our team, we don't have a power pitcher, so we're not going to get a lot of strikeouts. Our pitchers are going to the ball's going to be put in play against us. If we don't catch the ball, we will get hurt. They didn't catch the ball in that stretch, and their pitchers, who are predominantly control pitchers like we'll see in Jamie Moyer today, started having a lot of walks. So they saw an unusual amount of base runners, and when you're making errors and you got an unusual amount of base runners, you're not going to win a lot of games, and that's what happened to Seattle in that stretch.
Pedro Martinez working today on an extra day's rest after last week's melee-filled run at the no-hitter down in Tampa St. Pete. He lost the no-hitter in the bottom of the ninth on a John Flaherty base hit, but Pedro on 5 days is enough to handle. How about on an extra day?
Well, sometimes it's iffy, you know. On an extra day, a pitcher will lose his control, but I think in Pedro's case, he's had different spells this year where he's pitched on not the normal day rotation, and he's been successful. So at this point in time of the season, I think for him it's good to have that extra day.
Let's get right to the Seattle Mariners lineup that Pedro will be facing today. At the top of the order at second base, Mark McLemore, the switch hitter. In left field, Al Martin, who certainly has struggled since coming over in the deal from the San Diego Padres. A-Rod, the shortstop, batting in the 3 spot, just 3 for 14 career against Pedro. Then there's Edgar Martinez, the designated hitter, leading the majors with 128 runs batted in at 37, having an absolutely remarkable year. You can't say that about the man behind him, though. First baseman John Olerud, quietly disappointing, probably fits the bill with 11 homers, only hitting .280. That's low for John. Stan Javier in right field, Mike Cameron in the center field area. Dan Wilson catches and hits 8th, and Carlos Guillen is the third baseman and the #9 hitter, and he's been their best bat since the All-Star break.
Well, as a young man getting a chance to play and showing and making the best of it.
He has to face Pedro Martinez, 15-4. The major's lowest ERA at 1.68.
I think the thing you watch for Pedro early is how he moves his fastball in and out. He's the type of guy that if he's got that fastball working on different locations, now his changeup becomes even more effective. You can't say that about every pitcher. Most pitchers will throw one plane, either inside to a right-hander away from a lefty or away from a right-hander into a lefty. Pedro can go both in and out, and that's what makes him even more effective than most. And the defense behind him will be the key again. You know, you look at Sadler and Offerman, the right side of that infield, they will be tested today. Mark McLemore likes to bunt. He'll bring a bunt with him occasionally. He dropped a bunt down third the other day for a base hit. And Al Martin, if he's able to hook that changeup and pull it, and Oloruzzo and Edgar Martinez and Alex Rodriguez both go the other way very well. So I think the right side of the infield will be tested.
Mark McLemore to get it started against Pedro today. And then it's Martin and Alex Rodriguez. Again, Pedro, a remarkable 6-0 with an ERA of 1.00 against Seattle, and he's beaten them once this season. McLemore, 242 hitter, 3 homers, 37 runs batted in. And he can steal a base if he gets on. So we're underway at Fenway on a fly to left field, right at O'Leary. And backing to the warning track, he'll make the catch, and on one pitch, 1 out in the top of the first.
Well, you can see the Seattle game plan already. You know, speaking with Alex Rodriguez, you heard in the soundbite earlier, we want to be aggressive early in the count. You don't want to let a guy like Pedro get ahead of you. McLemore, first pitch of the game. Here it is. Pedro, he knows he's going to get a fastball. He got a rain delay. Pedro's been in the bullpen. He gets a fastball right there, just misses it.
So 1 down for Pedro. Al Martinez stand in, the left fielder. Hitting .291 overall with 13 homers. But he has not produced the way the Mariners had hoped. He goes after the first pitch and fouls it back for strike 1.
Well, it's a lot like Greg Maddux. You know, you don't want to allow Maddux to get 2 strikes on you where he can do his changeup, his slider, his curve. Same thing with Pedro. That's why they're going to be aggressive early.
So the first 2 Mariners have gone after the first pitch. And a breaking ball in for a strike. It's 0-2.
But to pick up your point, Dave, you were talking about Martin struggling since he's come over from San Diego. The change of the leagues, it does take a little bit of adjustment.
Only hitting .237 in the American League, but he has always hit Pedro well at a .333 pace, and this one is driven to right field deep. Lewis backing up, though, and has room on the track. So another fast out, 2 gone. Now Martin just missed one there.
Well, he really did. No wind blowing in Fenway Park, and Fenway, more than any ballpark in the major leagues, I think the flag or the wind affects how the ball carries in this ballpark. He hit that ball on the nose. It didn't go anywhere today.
You think even more than Wrigley Field on a day when the wind's blowing?
Well, okay, man, I'm corrected. No, you're right. Those 2 ballparks, Wrigley is the same way.
Yep. So 2 gone, and here's Alex Rodriguez, the shortstop, at .334 with 33 home runs, and he's driven in 105.
And Alex might have got a little bit of a break there. One thing that you hate is after the first 2 guys have swung and made outs quick, you got to go up there and now you got to sit and take a pitch.
Check swing. Did he offer? Yes, he did. Travis Katzenmeyer said he swung the bat from this angle, and I think from A-Rod's angle, it didn't look like it.
Well, I didn't agree from here either. I felt like you got to start your bat. That's the first thing you do. But you look at where Alex goes, he doesn't go anywhere. That's just a tough call, and you hate to get something like that against a pitcher like Pedro.
Yeah, like he needs another break. That's on the corner, and it's 1-2.
And you talked about earlier how he's a master of the mind game. You know, now he's got a quick strike on Alex from a gift from the umpire. Comes back, paints one on the black, and now Alex is still thinking about the pitch he check swung on, and you're 1-2. And now the crowd's getting into it.
They always are behind number 45. Pedro looking for his first strikeout of the day. Just low. 2-2. Rodriguez a career 3 for 14 against Pedro. Edgar Martinez in the on-deck area has had an equally difficult time hitting him. The 2-2. Struck him out. A 1-2-3 inning for Pedro. Working on another no-hit bid. We go to the bottom of the first at Fenway. No score. 4-2 to our Labor Day presentation of the Seattle Mariners and the Boston Red Sox. Jimmy Williams, the skipper of the Red Sox, in his 4th season, has come under some fire from Dan Duquette, the general manager of the Red Sox. There are reports that the two are at odds. Here's his lineup. Darren Lewis will start it off in right field. Jose Offerman at first base. Carl Everett with 33 bombs is in center. Nomar Garciaparra, though, struggling with the RBIs. In fact, none in his last 15 games. Dante Bichette, the new acquisition, is the designated hitter. Troy O'Leary in left. Varitek, the catcher, with Donnie Sadler back up from the minors at second. Alexander, the third baseman, and he'll square off against the left-hander, Jamie Moyer, who is 11-8 coming in. Moyer right now in the worst stretch of his season. In his last 6 starts, he's 0-5 with an earned run average of 9.84. So he's been getting hammered.
Yeah, he just hasn't been able to get that changeup down. That's been the problem with Jamie Moyer. When Jamie struggles, it's because he throws too hard. He'll throw the fastball too hard and he'll bring up with the changeup too hard. You'd like to hear that with most pitchers.
A bunt attempt by Lewis, got it down. Moyer with a spin and gets him.
That was a very difficult play he made look easy. Jamie Moyer, great athlete. You see him get off the mound. He comes, when he delivers a pitch, he lands in great athletic position to be able to bounce. Watch how he lands. He lands square, and then he takes off. Now, this is a difficult play. Bare hand, and he swings and makes a great play to get the speedy Lewis down the line.
So Moyer, whose fastball is going to top out about 85 miles an hour. A big slow curve and a changeup as well. Lots of change of speeds from Moyer. He'll face Offerman and then Everett. One down, the base is empty, and fires in a strike. The Red Sox have won the wild card the last 2 seasons, but this year's wild card race is wide open. Far more than when the Red Sox won it in '98 and '99. Getting into postseason will be brutally tough for Boston this year. The rest of the month, they've got a tough schedule. Fouled away by Offerman. They still have series left this month with Oakland, the Yankees, the White Sox, and 2 series with the Cleveland Indians, the front runner in the wild card right now.
Tough stretch.
And they have just 1 day off all month. Up high for a ball.
Well, I'm watching Jamie Moyer, and now you got Dan Wilson behind the plate today. You know, they have Widger, they have Joe Oliver, and Dan Wilson's been their all-star catcher, and he and Moyer have worked really well together. So sometimes when a pitcher's struggling, you go back to somebody who makes him feel comfortable, and that's why Dan Wilson's back there today.
Just low for ball 3.
Boy, that's the pitch right there that you like to get. And you see his last 7 starts, 0-5 with a 9.47. And again, it goes back to what we touched on. He's keeping the ball up, and the 2-2 pitch that we just saw him miss on.
On the outside corner, he pinned the fastball on the block. Offerman has a beat with Larry Young, but it's the first strikeout for Moyer, who doesn't walk too many.
Well, let's look at the Mariner defense. You know, you look at, again, the right side of the infield. John Olerud back in the lineup. He left his wife Kelly with their second baby, another little girl. So he's been gone for a little bit. And he is really the stabilizer for this infield. You know, oftentimes you talk about up the middle, but the first baseman, what he brought to the Mets and has brought to the Mariners is incredible, to have a 6'4" target and a guy who catches the ball and is very mobile.
Carl Everett standing in at 307, 33 homers, 99 runs batted in. He belted his 30th home run of the year on August 25th. And in the process became the first Red Sox outfielder to hit 30 since 1984. Given the fact the Sox play in a ballpark that favors hitters just a little bit, that's a little bit surprising. Tony Armisen, Dwight Evans, the last to do it before Everett. That's on the edge of the plate.
Well, if you're accustomed to seeing Carl Everett hit, he's a switch hitter. He would normally be hitting on the right side against the left-handed pitcher, but against Jamie Moyer, he did this early in the year, and he'll do it against a few lefties that throw a little softer, take away their changeup. And that's what he tries to do. He's going to take away that changeup from Jamie Moyer, because most lefties will not throw that changeup to left-hand hitters.
You notice the points of Carl's toes are just inside that line or barely touching it, as he used to be right on top of it with that spike. Struck him out. He jammed him. And Moyer strikes out 2 in the inning. The Red Sox nearly no hit yesterday. No hits in the first inning. Arrived at Fenway Park in Boston, and with it the playoff pursuit as Pedro Martinez goes back to work in the top half of the second inning. 0-0 here. He'll face Edgar Martinez, then John Olerud and Stan Javier, as the Mariners look for their first hit of the day against the Boston ace, who chases his 16th win. And it's up high on Edgar.
You know, Edgar Martinez is one of the great scientists of hitting. You know, Alex Rodriguez one time said, hey, he's got a PhD in hitting. Watch how he taps the bat on the back of his shoulder. I'd never seen him doing that before, and I played with Edgar. And he's always changing his stance or doing something. I said, what are you doing, Edgar? And he said, well, I'm trying to make sure that my hands stay inside my swing. This is just a simple reminder. He said, when I hold my hands up high, if you're used to watching Edgar, he holds his hands up real high. He said, I've been dragging and going around the ball. Now I tap my back. You see how he's tapping it right there? It reminds him to keep his hands through the zone.
Two-time batting champion, and he's trying everything these days because he's scuffling something.
Well, he really is. He really is. And very rarely does he struggle. So when you struggle, even the great ones got to figure a way to get out of it.
Wraps that one foul. Martinez drove in 87 runs in the first half, so not much was going wrong at that time.
Well, you saw the 3-1 changeup right there that Pedro threw. That's one of the reasons you struggle. You guys start throwing pitches you don't anticipate seeing in certain counts.
The 3-2 and the line to right field for a base hit. So Martinez goes the other way, just his second career hit in 15 at-bats against Martinez. But the Mariners have the leadoff man on in the second inning.
See, if he's pulling his hands through the zone like he felt like he should, that's where the result will be, a ball driven to the right side. Watch out, he'll pull his hands inside and take it inside out. You can almost see him push his body through. And that is a perfect Edgar Martinez swing that gets you going. He doesn't worry about home runs. Those will come. But as long as he gets his stroke where he wants it, eventually he knows he will get high.
In his 12th season with Seattle, here's John Olerud in his first with the Mariners, hitting .280 with 11 homers. And taking low for ball one. A Seattle native. He was an All-America baseball star at Washington State. Last season with the Mets, he had a better year, hitting .298 with 96 runs batted in. They certainly need John Olerud's bat to start warming up here in September.
Yeah, oftentimes you start talking about RBIs, you think about Nomar's had no RBIs in 15 games, but yet Carl Everett's been taking everything that's been out there. And the same thing in the case of John Olerud. Edgar Martinez has got 128 RBIs. He had almost 100 at the All-Star break. There's not a whole lot left out there for you to get when the guy in front of you is taking all the scraps and eating it and taking it home in a doggy bag.
Foul back. So 2-1 on Olerud. Stan Javier to hit next. The Red Sox were nearly no hit on Sunday at Fenway Park, and Pedro almost threw a no-hitter last week against Tampa Bay. He has already allowed one to Martinez this afternoon. Edgar leading at first base with nobody out. Foul tipped into the catcher's mitt, and it's 2-2.
You see how Pedro moves the ball in and out. You know, he's just so tough to face. You can't really sit on a pitch. Here, 2-1 is usually a hitter's count, and Olerud, a great fastball hitter, the ball starts to move in on him. Not only in, but up. He locates so well. That's why it's difficult to get a good read on.
Olerud, a great contact hitter, though. Difficult strikeout. Just missed, if it did. I mean, right on the edge of the plate. Olerud got the call.
Well, again, you know, Olerud's looking in, and look at the movement on this ball on the outside black. Whew, tough pitch to lay off.
3-2, a man on, nobody out. It is scoreless in the top half of the second inning. That one blooped into left center. Back goes Garcia-Parra, but no play. A base hit for Olerud dunked into the outfield. Time for an update now. Let's go to the studio and John Butchergrass. John.
All right, of course, the Red Sox chasing the Indians, who have that 2-game wild card lead. The Tribe home to Tampa Bay, and Travis Fryman's having a great year, hitting .325. That's a deep triple to right center, scoring David Segui. And the Indians, who lead by 2, have a 2-0 lead in rainy Ohio.
Well, not raining here in Boston, although the forecast is calling for showers later. It's been doing nothing but raining lately here. But dry so far today as Javier turns to bunt and fouls it away. The first 2 Mariners here in the second inning, Martinez and Olerud, have singled off of Pedro. Now take a look at this. Opponent's batting average against Pedro with runners in scoring position. This is absolutely filthy. 13 hits and 105 at bats.
Well, one of the things I like about Pedro with runners in scoring position, he doesn't change his windup, his stretch. He'll take a full, complete delivery. A lot of pitchers will try to slide step. He still gets great thrust on all his pitches, and I think that kills a lot of other pitchers because you worry about base runners. Pedro doesn't worry about the runners. He tries to get the hitter, and that's how the game is played.
Stan Javier batting left-handed, a .281 average. He's going to try and drop down a bunt. And stuff like that at about 92 miles an hour down around the knees, tough to drop down. And a count 1-1.
Yeah, but oftentimes, Dave, I mean, we see enough baseball. The pitcher right here will try to deliver a quick pitch so he can get to where he can field the bunt. Pedro's trying to make the perfect pitch because he knows if I put the ball where I want it, he can't get the ball down anyway. That's going to hurt me. And I think for young pitchers out there, remember the situation. Your job is to get this guy out. They're going to give you an out right here. Take it. Throw the strike. Let him put the ball down. Get the out.
Alexander leaning in from third. The runners go, and it's fouled away, so they pull off the bunt that time. Lou Piniella deciding to go with a hit-and-run play as Martinez and Olerud were on the move.
And all of a sudden, they come with the slider. You know, instead of being a fastball, he gets a slider right here with the runners going. And now it becomes a tough pitch for Javier to hit fair. He hooks it foul. And now Pedro's got him exactly where he wants him. If he's able to deliver a strike, get that punch out here, you're back on double play, getting you out of an inning.
He's had him in this spot before. Javier 3 for 18 lifetime against the Red Sox ace. This one flied to left field, but not deep enough. And O'Leary back to make the catch. Martinez will hold it second. Big out there. They wanted to bunt those men both into scoring position. Javier is a good bunter, could not get the job done, and the runners had to stay put.
Well, they took the gamble thinking that Javier was going to get a fastball, be able to put it in play. They start the runners, do something a little different. Instead of playing, go ahead, we'll get the men over and maybe advance it. I think early in the game, you got to go ahead and drop the bunt. If you're going to bunt it all the way. If you're going to swing, let the guy swing early.
Well, against this guy, you've got to get him where you can.
Yes, indeed.
Here's Mike Cameron, the center fielder, batting .257. He's been a solid addition, especially defensively, roaming those wide open spaces at Safeco Field. He's a terrific outfielder. He takes ball 1.
He's been a great acquisition. I think anytime you trade a player like Ken Griffey Jr. or any big name player, you got to get somebody back who's going to have an impact. There's got to be at least one player. Tomko and Cameron have both played real well for the Mariners.
He's hit for power, 16 homers, and he can steal bases as well. But he got under this one. A fly toward Carl Everett. And Everett with the catch, and again Martinez glued to second base. So a couple of fly balls, and again you see where Pedro is just so tough with men in scoring position. He gets nastier.
Well, he doesn't try to get strikeouts. He tries to get outs. Again, he sets himself to get the out. Where's that pitch at? It's up high. Mike Cameron's not going to hit this ball on the ground, and Pedro knows if I get it up and away, he's not going to take me out of the ballpark either. He just knows how to pitch according to the situation, and that is pitch by pitch, hitter by hitter.
Dan Wilson has stepped in, a catcher, number 8 hitter, hitting .241. Remember, the first 2 Mariners, Martinez and Olerud, singled, and Pedro was in a jam right off the bat. Foul by Wilson for strike 1. We talked about the Red Sox upcoming schedule and how tough September is going to be for them. As for the Mariners, well, they go on to Toronto next to face another wild card contender for 3, but the schedule eases for them thereafter. They have series remaining with Minnesota and Baltimore and Tampa Bay this month. Big swing and a miss, 0-2.
Well, a lot of times that can be deceiving in my mind, because the schedule says, yeah, the Orioles aren't very competitive, neither is Tampa Bay, but those are the teams that have nothing to play for. You call up a bunch of young kids who are happy to be in the big leagues, and now you're seeing pitchers that you've never seen before, and you got young guys that are hungry to get a chance to play.
The 0-2 to Wilson. He just gets a piece to hang in there. So that time Pedro gunning for the strikeout. He has one so far today. Edgar Martinez at second base. Olerud leading from first, the new daddy. 2 down, no score, second inning. Pedro trying to keep it a scoreless game. The crowd antsy for another strikeout, and they get it. Once again, he denies an opponent the chance to score. Still 0-0. Garciaparra to lead off the second.
Places to go.
Top of the second, no score here at Fenway Park. Remember, it is Monday night, even though it's a holiday, and 7:30 tonight on ESPN. It's Monday Night Countdown, a complete recap of NFL Week 1, the latest NFL news, and a look ahead to the Monday night game. And at 9 p.m. tonight on ABC, the Denver Broncos taking on the St. Louis Rams. It's the season premiere of Monday Night Football. Defending champion Rams taking on the Denver Broncos with the MVP quarterback Kurt Warner. Harold Reynolds, Dave O'Brien with you from Fenway Park. You can feel the tension in the air. The Red Sox are having their problems. They came into the game today against the Mariners, 2 full games behind Cleveland in a hunt for the wild card as Garciaparra swings right through the Moyer pitch for strike 1.
Yeah, they've struggled a little bit, but they've tried to do some things to shake up the club, bringing in Dante Bichette this week, Midrick Cummings. So Dan Duquette continues to try to give Jimmy Williams some bullets.
Little trickler by Nomar. Ian with the charge and throw, nicely done for the out. Garciaparra, for the first time in a long time, came into today's game not leading the American League in hitting. He is second, hitting .362, and he's 0 for 1 today.
Number 19.
The American League batting leaders coming into today. The amazing Carlos Delgado, who's going after the Triple Crown, and Darren Erstad of Anaheim, both hitting .363.
Yeah, Delgado, that is a unbelievable feat. If he can pull off a Triple Crown this day and age, absolutely incredible.
So 1 down, and here's Dante Bichette. Dante, before the trade to Boston from the Cincinnati Reds, had a career batting average here at Fenway of .366. Even higher than what he batted at Coors Field in 6 years there when he hit .359. He's off to a slow start with Boston so far.
No, but this guy is a tremendous hitter. Dante makes great adjustments, and I think he's going to be effective down the stretch. It takes guys a long time to make adjustments back and forth, but he's a great off-speed hitter, so I don't think it's going to affect him that much as it would maybe a guy who's accustomed to hitting just fastball.
Off the end of the batter roller to Olerud. Will handle it himself. Dante has always worn the number 9 throughout his career. He has switched to 19 here in Boston for obvious reasons. Number 9 hasn't been available for a long time. That's Ted Williams' number. And of course, Dante idolizes Ted Williams, and Williams actually called him the other day, tried to get in touch with him to talk about coming to the Red Sox. And Dante says, until I get hot, I'm not going to call Ted back. But there's the number 27, Carlton Fisk's number, retired today in a wonderful ceremony down on the field. Fenway Park sold out for the festivities.
Don't you call Ted when you're cold and get some advice?
Yeah, that's the way I thought it might go. I mean, you pick up the phone and you call your hitting guru if you're going bad. He said, you know, I want to be proud of my performance. I want him to be proud of me as a Red Sox player, because this is a great thrill for Dante to come here to Boston. He met his wife Mariana at the Gold's Gym behind Fenway Park when she was a student at Boston University, so there's a lot of special feeling for him here at the Fens. A little pop-up foul by O'Leary, but that's into the seats.
Well, it's another guy that needs to start getting the bat going, is Troy O'Leary. He's had an up-and-down season, some injuries and some personal problems, and had a little bit of time on the disabled list, but he hasn't had a consistent time to get himself into a groove, so they're looking for him to get hot on a consistent basis. I think he'll help carry this club. this can be an exciting club. They really struggle to score runs. It surprises me because they have a pretty good offensive unit over here.
The Red Sox near the bottom of the American League in runs scored and in hitting. O'Leary was counted on to deliver big time this season. He did last year when he hit 28 homers with over 100 RBIs. And here's the hitting instructor, Jim Rice, who had many a golden summer afternoon in this park.
Well, you can only do so much as a hitting coach. I think it's kind of funny sometimes we go, they're not hitting. What's wrong, Jim?
Fire the hitting coach. Yeah. First guy you jump on.
I mean, you come out, you work with guys, and at this level, if they don't know their swing by now, they're not going to be here very long anyway.
O'Leary with a blooper, but Al Martin to make the grab. And Moyer has been sharp right out of the gate, setting down the first 6 Red Sox. We're still scoreless at the end of 2 at Fenway. For the 3rd inning at Fenway, 0-0 here, and before the game, a great ceremony to honor Carlton Fisk, the Hall of Fame catcher of the Boston Red Sox, who was the 4th overall pick for the Sox in 1967, went on to be the Rookie of the Year in 1972, a 10-time All-Star, and his number 27, the 5th number retired by the Red Sox, and that was none other than El Tiante, Louis Tiant, who Fisk said in the ceremony was his favorite pitcher. He had the most special relationship that he had with any pitcher in all of his time, and he was catching that ceremonial first pitch delivered by Pudge, and those are the Red Sox numbers retired. The number 1, Bobby Doerr, Cronin number 4, Yaz number 8. Yaz was on the field and had some very kind things to say about the man they call Pudge. And of course Ted Williams is number 9, and that's Jackie Robinson's number 42, retired forever throughout baseball. Carlos Guillen with a wave and a miss. Guillen, the number 9 hitter, very talented young third baseman, hitting .264 with 5 home runs.
He had that knee injury. He was going to be their starting second baseman, blew his knee out and wasn't as mobile as he was before. They moved him to third base. He's done a nice job over there for Lou.
Flies that one toward the corner. O'Leary almost into foul territory, makes the catch. And as you know, at Fenway, there's almost no foul ground, just a couple of feet up against those stands. 1 down. 0-0 here in the 3rd inning.
Well, here's a good look at the wall you're talking about. You can see there is no room at all. Once the ball starts to get closer to that wall, it pushes the ball back, too. It has a tendency. You may sometimes see the outfielder overrun that ball here in Fenway. But Troy O'Leary's been playing there enough now. He's getting used to it. But you can see, there's not a lot of foul territory.
Not a lot of room down there, period. Only 310 from the plate as Pedro backs away Mark McLemore, who flied to left his first time. His Pudge, he knows all about that foul pole down the left field line. He hit that famous home run in 1975, Game 6 of the World Series, to win that game against the Cincinnati Reds, and he'll be known forever as much for the swing and the home run as for the body language that followed to will it fair.
That was one of the great games of all time.
Well, there are those, Harold, who maintain that that game saved baseball. The television ratings were down, interest was down throughout the game and throughout the country, and Fisk's home run and the high drama around it may have saved the game.
I know it spurred me on to be a big baseball fan. That was really the turning point for me as to what sport I liked best, and that was a big point right there.
A lot of folks outside Cincinnati forget the fact the Red Sox would play Game 7 and lose it. They actually lost that World Series.
Yeah.
The 1975 American League champion Red Sox of Dewey Evans and Yaz and Fred Lynn. Foul tipped into the catcher's mitt.
Well, that was a 3-1 fastball right there. McLemore chased. He knows the fastball's coming. He's sitting on it. He's a leadoff hitter, and he wasn't able to catch up to it. That's how hard Pedro's throwing, and that's the kind of movement that he has.
Pedro has struck out 2 today. He hasn't walked anybody, and it's flared foul by McLemore. Carlton Fisk in 1975.
He swings, long drive, left field. If it stays fair, it's gone. Home run! The Red Sox win, and the series is tied 3 games apiece.
The Red Sox won the game, lost the series, but Carlton Fisk will be forever remembered for that magnificent home run. McLemore still fighting it out here against Pedro. The count 3 balls 2 strikes. And Carlton's been a busy man today. You'll never forget this. And it's gone up into the screen. Outside ball 4, so McLemore becomes the first walk from Pedro today. 1 on. And McLemore a threat to steal a base.
Yeah, this will be interesting to see what Pedro does now. The last time he had runners on, he had Martinez and Olerud, who do not run very much, and he took a long, deliberate delivery to the plate and was able to wiggle out of that one jam. McLemore presents a different challenge because, you said, he can run. We'll see if Pedro shortens his swing up, his stride up a little bit, and see what they might do. That was only his 28th walk of the season. That's how good his control has been.
Al Martin 0 for 1. He's flied to right field. You wonder too, Harold, I mean, with the extended pregame ceremony to honor Carlton Fisk, and Pedro is not going to shorten up his warm-up in the bullpen for anybody. He's been known to stay out there a long time, regardless of what the start of the game is supposed to be. You wonder if that threw him off just a little bit. He's allowed a couple of hits and walked a man, and this one fly by Martin to deep left. But O'Leary with a play onto the warning track. 2 down. A-Rod coming up next. He struck out in the first inning.
Well, Pedro did a great job of pitching to Alex. I think the key pitch is not this one, but this pitch right here, the changeup. The check swing made that, instead of a 2-0 count, a 1-1 count. And after that, Alex had to go chasing after whatever Pedro wanted. He mixed pitches. We saw a fastball at 94, came back with a changeup at 84, threw another fastball at 90, changeup at 80. I mean, he was awesome in that at bat right there.
As you look at him, is this the man who is just months away from the biggest contract in sports history? Is $200 million going to be enough to sign A-Rod? At his age and with his talent and what he means to the American League, I mean, you know he can call his own shot. The question is, and you know him well, Harold, the question is he leaning one way or the other at this point of the season?
You know, he has never one time tipped his hat as to where he might go, and we spent a lot of time together, gotten to be really good friends the last few years, and he's never once said he's going to leave or he's going to stay. He hasn't ever indicated it one way or the other. I think he's played the game tremendous, you know, the old poker game with the Mariners and with everybody else, not letting anybody know.
He's a free agent. You saw Lou Piniella. Lou Piniella also unsigned for next season. So you wonder about his immediate future. McLemore the runner with 2 down. And a strike. And you saw Rodriguez's knees buckle just a bit.
Well, he's done a masterful job. You saw the fastballs and the changeup the first at bat. He didn't throw this curveball right here that starts out over the plate and breaks back. He hadn't shown him that. Now I would look for McLemore to run in this situation right here with 2 strikes. I wouldn't see him run early in the count, but with 2 strikes, throw him out. Now you got Alex leading off the inning if that so happens.
The 1-2. The runner holds, and it's fouled back on top of the roof.
It's amazing how Pedro takes away the aggressiveness of the hitters. You know, Alex Rodriguez looks like half the time he knows what's coming whenever you watch him play. Now he looks like he's the one that's on the side having to go ahead and reach and try to make something happen, and Pedro's in total control.
He thought McLemore might be taking off that time, a close play, but he dives in safe.
Well, he loosened up his stride, his lead a little bit that time, and Pedro's going to pay attention to the whole game. He's been around. He understands, and he understands in a 1-2 count, this is where you want McLemore to run. Alex is having a defensive at bat. He's fouling off pitches, not sitting comfortable. You go ahead and make something happen as a base runner.
Struck him out again on some high heat. Rodriguez strikes out for the second time. Pedro so far with 3 today. Dave O'Brien and Harold Reynolds with you from Fenway Park. Thanks for being with us on Labor Day as the Sox and Mariners are 0-0 Into the bottom of the third, Jason Varitek to lead off, and then it's Sadler and Alexander against Jamie Moyer, who has seen 6 Red Sox hitters and retired them all, including 2 strikeouts.
Well, very positive start for Jamie Moyer. When you're facing Pedro Martinez, you know you have to bring your A game, and sometimes that's the best thing for you.
Moyer pitched for Boston back in 1996. Pitched well for them. He went 7-1 before a July trade to Seattle. And since then, he's been a big winner for this Seattle ball club. Little chopper, and that'll be a fair ball. Glove by Guillen. Good strong throw to get him for out number 1. Let's go to John Buccigrass back in the studio. John.
Plenty of baseball today, and the White Sox, boy, are they producing runs. 43 in their last 4 games coming into today, and Frank Thomas hitting .336. That's RBI 127 and scores Durham, and the White Sox score again, lead again.
See the White Sox with a great big lead over the Cleveland Indians. You wonder, Harold, at this time, 8.5 back are the Indians. They got to be just focusing on the wild card at this point. No real chance to catch Chicago. The White Sox were supposed to have gone under by now.
Well, they're
the way to the Indians, right?
They've surprised me because they make so many errors defensively. But Frank Thomas has really carried that club and should be commended for the way he's come back this year.
Sadler with a little too-hopper to Olerud. He drops it, and they'll have no play on Sadler. He's safe at first base.
Well, so often we talk about the first step in basketball. The first step John Olerud takes, it's almost like he hits a minefield, and he slipped, and it threw off his whole judgment after that. His head moved, everything else. Watch Olerud. The first step he takes, he's going to slip and fall down. Right there, he starts to fall, and his whole body lunged forward, and he lost track of the ball. Now, this is an excellent fielding first baseman. He just got caught with bad footwork that time. Not actually bad footwork, just bad traction, and it results in an error.
For Olerud, his 5th error of the season. But through those awful days of August and a long losing streak for Seattle, they played some terrible defense, which has not been like them. They've usually been very good. Manny Alexander steps up, playing third base today, and one of 9 third basemen that Jimmy Williams has penciled into his lineup this season since the injury to John Valentin. And he blew out a knee. They've had a difficult time replacing him.
And with the expansion of the 40-man roster now, you know, September 1st, you can expand the roster from 25 to 40. You're probably going to see more guys playing third base over there, too. You can shuffle them in and out.
Now, the Red Sox are used to that shuffling, that's for sure, since the Dan Duquette era got underway in 1994. As the general manager of the Red Sox, some 300 players have worn the uniform of the Major League Red Sox. That's remarkable.
Wow.
Jimmy Williams, kind of a patchwork lineup, day in and day out, uses a lot of different leadoff men. You really never know who's going to be in Jimmy's lineup, but he wins.
Well, I love the calm demeanor of Jimmy Williams. You know, anytime, it's always his fault. He deflects all things back to him, and that just shows the real man and the real character of Jimmy Williams, that he's not afraid to say it was my fault. He's not afraid to take, when he knows it's not his fault, and still take the blame, put all the onus on himself. And he's a tremendous leader, and players respond to that.
He's a great teacher, too, and he's had his run-ins with Carl Everett, his superstar. But the Red Sox going into September in the hunt for the wild card, and given everything that happens during the course of a normal year in Boston, it's pretty amazing. You know, the first base runner to reach against Moyer reaches on an error. Sadler at first base, and so Moyer goes from the stretch for the first time today.
And if you're Jamie Moyer, you take anything positive out of this. He's got 2 ground balls this inning, 1 for an out and 1 for the air, and that has been his problem. He's been elevating the ball, so if he keeps the ball on the ground today, he's going to be happy with that.
A broken bat blooper into the crowd on the left field line. So Alexander will get himself a fresh bat. Darren Lewis up next. 0-0 here. The Red Sox still without a hit off of Jamie Moyer, and boy, offensively, the Red Sox have been offensive, haven't they?
Well, they really have. But you look at their lineup. You have Carl Everett. You have Nomar Garciaparra. And then after that, you really don't have a major threat in your lineup. Offerman has not been the hitter he was of a year ago.
Right.
And you take away Carl Everett's power and Nomar Garciaparra, and you can pitch around those 2 guys. You don't have a whole lot left. There's no oomph. There's no fear in the lineup. And every team throughout Major League Baseball that's in the hunt, there is fear throughout the lineup.
Lined over short. That'll find a home in left field. Sadler advances 90 feet. It's a base hit for Manny Alexander. And the Red Sox had their first scoring threat of the day. 2 on and 1 out in the 3rd inning.
Well, nice piece of hitting by Manny Alexander. A little changeup. He just went down and stayed with it. Get a good look. Moyer, again, gets him off balance. Nice changeup. See this ball fading away. Manny with a good job of reaching out and hitting it. And you saw him get jammed with the fastball and break his bat. That was because he's been looking off speed the whole time. And even with 2 strikes, he continued to look off speed. And he got the pitch and was able to dunk it into left field.
So 2 men on with 1 down. Darren Lewis, the batter. He tried to bunt his way on in the 1st inning. Moyer made a nice play along the first base line and threw him out.
And you may see hit and run or some kind of movement in this situation with the Sadler at second and you have Alexander at first. They may try to run or do a combination of different things here to create, because they're not going to sit back and bop you to death like maybe the Chicago White Sox or even the Mariners themselves in this situation might try to do.
Moyer, a quick chat with his catcher Wilson. Jamie is married to Karen Phelps, the daughter of former Notre Dame basketball coach Digger Phelps. And he says that his father-in-law tries to get in and see him whenever they happen to be pitching in a city where Digger is present.
Yeah, I played with Jamie in Baltimore in '93, so I got a chance to know Karen and the kids. They got 4 boys, and she's always active and busy doing things with them. And Digger's always popping in, giving Jamie a call, checking out what's going on. I mean, he's the biggest pitching coach I know that plays basketball.
Big Jamie Moyer fan. That's outside. So the count, 1-0 on Lewis, 2 on. Lewis without a lot of power, but he'll put the ball in play. So far 2 home runs. Sadler and Alexander get their leads, and the 2-0 pitch is in for a strike.
I wouldn't be surprised right here, 2-1, to see actually a little action on this pitch right here. I would say Moyer's probably going to come with a changeup, and I wouldn't be surprised to see Boston start their runners. Not holding them in the middle of the diamond.
Inside. So now the hitter's count for Lewis, 3 balls, 1 strike. Offerman to follow, and Carl Everett right around the corner for Boston.
You see Darren Lewis trying to peek outside for that changeup and take it away, and Moyer busting him in with the fastball.
The Red Sox need a win to split this series. Just a little bit low. Moyer didn't get the call, so he walks a man. Got 2 pitchers today that hardly ever walk anybody, but this loads the bases.
Well, 3-1, you're looking for a certain pitch, and that's why Lewis is able to lay off this ball. Now, had it been a 2-strike pitch, I think he might have swung, but right here, 3-1, he's picking out a specific pitch that he wants to hit, so it doesn't even look like it's very close to you as a hitter.
All filled up for the Red Sox. Sadler at third, Alexander at second, Lewis at first. No place to put Offerman, who struck out in the first inning, and Moyer falls behind, ball 1.
Well, this is where Jamie's got to have a lot of confidence in that changeup. Get somebody off balance and just get an out. You don't worry about having a big inning. Try to get 1 out and not extend the inning.
2-0. So he gets behind, and Brian Price, pitching coach, will head out to the hill to see what's up with Moyer. I mean, this is highly unusual. Lou Piniella knows that, to walk a man, although on a close pitch, and then go 2-0 on the very next hitter for Moyer. That's out of character.
Well, it really is, and sometimes you start trying to be to be a little bit too fine instead of being aggressive. Trying to get that 1 ground ball that's going to get you 2 outs instead of thinking, I just want to get 1 out right here, not extend the inning.
He's got to be a little extra tense because of the man he's going up against today. Pedro Martinez, you feel like you can't allow a single run or he's going to beat you. Fly to dead center. Backing up Cameron. He slips and falls. And the ball goes all the way to the wall. Sadler scores. Alexander scores. Here comes Lewis. Throw home. Collision. He'll get there and the ball gets away. 3-run score on the slip. And the Red Sox take a 3-0 lead. Well, it's been soggy. It's been very wet in New England. Cameron's footing came right out from underneath him. What would have been just a sacrifice and an RBI, only 1 run, winds up a 3-run triple.
Well, that's the kind of stretch that Jamie Moyer is going through right now. You got the ground ball, Olerud slipped and fell, that started the inning. And then right there, the line drive to center, that would have been a sac fly, would have been the 1 out. And we talked about keeping the inning from being a big inning. And Mike Cameron slipped and fell down.
So Carl Everett up the infield in tight with a runner at third. And that's a deep drive to left. Back it goes. Martin turns high off the wall. A run in. Everett into second with a double. And it's all coming undone for Jamie Moyer. The Red Sox go in front 4-0.
Well, Carl Everett again, going up there left-handed against the lefty. He wanted to take away the changeup. And when you know that you're not going to get that pitch, you sit there and look for the fastball. He got a fastball in and drove it. Now here's a big look at the slip. Right there, he slips and falls, almost able to recover, but was not able to. And it ends up being a huge play this inning. The next hitter, Carl Everett, again, he's taking away that changeup. He gets a ball out over the plate and just stays with it and drives it off the wall.
And that is the 100th RBI of the season for Carl Everett. He's into scoring position with 1 out. And Garciaparra with a ground ball through the hole. McLemore can't make the play, and Everett's going to score. An RBI single for Garciaparra, who had gone 15 games without a run batted in.
Well, you knew that drought was going to come to an end eventually, and this ball is not hit hard either. I mean, it's all a matter of placement. I mean, this is off his hands. Swivel away from the second baseman, McLemore. Here comes a good look. It's going to be a changeup going away. He just hits it off the end of the bat. And watch McLemore. He can't quite get to it. He gives it all he can, but it's just perfect placement. Man. Now they're playing him to pull the ball, and the ball ends up squeaking away, ends up being a base hit.
Well, this is Fenway Park at its best, isn't it? The Red Sox have just scored 5 runs on 3 pitches. I mean, Jamie Moyer was sailing along. He had retired the first 7 in a row. But Olerud made an error. Cameron there slipped in center field on a fly ball that went for a 3-run triple. Bichette takes a strike. 0-2 on Dante, who grounded to first his first time up. He has hit only 4 home runs in his last 194 at-bats. But the Red Sox are hoping the trade from Cincinnati will rejuvenate Dante Bichette. It has gone bad in a hurry for the left-hander Moyer. Fouled away by Bichette, 0-2.
Well, if you look at Dante Bichette this time around, Dave, making an adjustment. He is all over the plate. I mean, he's leaning over the plate, and he's forcing Jamie Moyer to throw me your fastball. I'm not worried about you throwing the fastball by me. As you see, Frankie Rodriguez recently called up from AAA, warming up in the bullpen.
Garciaparra leading at first base. Only 1 out. Got jammed and knocked it foul. Still 0-2.
That was a great pitch right there by Moyer, because I was just talking about how close Dante Bichette is leaning over the plate. So as a pitcher, you can't go ahead and just continue to give him what he wants outside. Go ahead and get in on him.
Dante said when he got word from Reds general manager Jim Bowden that Bowden needed to talk to him, he said, please let it be Boston. That's where I want to go. That's where I want to go hit. where Ted Williams hit. And where Bichette has always swung the bat exceptionally well. And he got his wish. 5-0 Boston. The breaking ball bounced up there and blocked by Wilson. Garciaparra staying at first. How about this? A 5-run lead for the game's best pitcher.
It's not looking real bright for the Mariners right now, especially the way the game is going. You know, so much of it momentum. We hear that in basketball or football, but you can just see the momentum swing in the last inning when Pedro, the one inning, you go back to the inning where Javier was going to bunt, and they decided to go ahead and try to swing, and they got out of that inning with runners on first, second, no outs.
So they couldn't get a quick start against Pedro. And now Martinez has a healthy lead as Bichette backs away.
And the other thing with Pedro sitting over there, it affects how Jamie Moyer has to pitch, because now you're down 5 runs. You don't want to hit a batter in this situation and then have Pedro with an opportunity to retaliate and put all your hitters on a fearful stance instead of being aggressive at the plate. So
yeah, as if they aren't already. Yeah,
exactly. So it gets interesting.
The 2-2 to Dante, grounded to short. Rodriguez trying to turn the double play, and McLemore does onto Olrud. But a big frame for the Red Sox. They score 5 times as Cameron slips on the wet grass in center. And the question is, with Pedro Martinez leading 5-0, is that insurmountable for the Seattle Mariners, facing arguably the game's finest ace, Edgar Martinez, John Olrud, and Stan Javier to hit in this inning against Pedro, who is 15-4, an ERA of 1.68. Now Doc Gooden's 1.53 earned run average for the Mets back in 1985. A base hit for Martinez. He's 2 for 2.
Well, you're not going to keep Edgar down for long. He'd struggled coming into the game against Pedro, but again, knows what he wants to do. Has a game plan. Every time he goes to the plate, drives that one back up the middle. But you think about Doc Gooden's 1.5 and Pedro's 1.6. The difference is American League and National League. You're facing a pitcher 3 times in that game that Doc Gooden's throwing, and Pedro's doing this against 9 hitters. It's amazing.
Yeah, in many ways more remarkable than what Doc Gooden did. An ERA by Gooden, the lowest by any pitcher since the mound was lowered in 1969. Olrud singled his first trip. That's in for a strike. So we'll see if the Mariners can pick away here and get a couple of runs against Martinez and climb back in this thing after that nasty slip by Cameron in center field on a fly ball with the bases loaded. That opened up the floodgates against Lou Pinella's club. And the Red Sox would score 5 times.
Another thing that I've noticed from watching Pedro through the years, he doesn't pitch according to ERA. He pitches according to the situations of the game. You know, here it is. He comes right after Edgar Martinez throws him strikes. He's not trying to get strikeouts, not trying to nibble. Same thing with Olrud. A lot of times you'll see a pitcher get 5-run lead. He's thinking about the ERA, and next thing you know, he's 0-2. He's 2-0, 3-0. He's nibbling. He's walking guys. He's pitching according to the ERA, not according to the game.
Well, Pedro has walked 1 man. That was McLemore in the 3rd inning. There's the first man that he had walked since August 2nd. I mean, it's September 4th. You figured he was going to get through the rest of the season without walking a man. He almost did. That one hit sharply, backing up O'Leary to the warning track. Martinez scampers back to first, 1 out.
Yeah, that's sick right there. I remember the year that Eckersley had that one stretch where he wasn't walking guys, but Eck was coming in the 8th or 9th inning, and he's only throwing 1 or 2 innings. We're talking about a guy throwing into the 7th and 8th inning almost every outing. That's incredible.
Stan Javier, the batter, 0 for 1. He's flying to left field. The Red Sox with a 5-0 lead here. Fly down into that corner. O'Leary on the run and makes the catch. He knows that corner pretty well.
Well, he really does. He got his body in the proper angle. Being a left-handed outfielder also, he can get a little bit closer to that wall than most right-handed outfielders. He's got the right hand, which the glove is on. It gets him even closer to that wall and being able to see it at the same time. See how his body's turned? He knows exactly where he's at and is able to make that catch. he had another 3 feet to spare.
Only 310 to the wall in left field, although Ted Williams always said it was more like 290. Mike Cameron 0 for 1. He's flying to center. I know Red Sox fans will not share this sentiment, but you've got to feel awful for Mike Cameron, who is a marvelous outfielder, slipping and falling just in front of the warning track in center field and allowing 3 runs to score on a play that has to go into the books as a triple off the bat of Jose Offerman. But the grass is certainly moist. It's been a very humid day. Lots of rain in New England throughout the summer.
Well, I know somebody not showing any sympathy at all right now. That's Pedro Martinez. Well, there's the divot. I wouldn't have fixed that divot either if I'd have fell down out there.
Leave it there for everyone to see. It is the scene of the crime. X marks the spot, so to speak. The crowd itching for another strikeout from their ace. The runner goes. The pitch outside. Veritek's throw not in time. A stolen base for Edgar Martinez, getting him into scoring position.
Well, it's a good play. I mean, you got 2 strikes on Mike Cameron, a leadoff type hitter. You go ahead and start Edgar Martinez. This is what I was saying last inning when you had McLemore up with Alex Rodriguez up and McLemore on first. If they throw him out, he's safe. If they throw him out, then you start the inning off with Cameron with a new count. But if you get safe like he is right there with Edgar, now you got a chance to drive in a run.
The 1-2 missed away. Yeah, everybody knows the scouting report on Edgar at 37 years old is you can't throw him out. That's his second stolen base. He's 2 for 2 this year.
That's right. Pick your spots, Gar, and go for it.
2-2 on Cameron. Seattle trying to get on the board and break through against Martinez. A high topper going to be a tough play for Alexander. Short hops off the glove. Pedro will pick it up. And the runners are safe at first and third. A lot of running in already for Edgar. He's going to be exhausted after this inning.
Well, what makes this play effective, now Mike Cameron puts a bat on a breaking ball, but the stolen base by Edgar Martinez creates this play right here, because if he's not at second base, Manny Alexander's not playing as far back as he is normally. Well, 2 strikes had been back, but with the runner at second base, now you think about knocking the ball down even more.
So base hit for Cameron. Martinez at third. And Cameron has very good speed. He's at first. And the Mariners in need of a 2-out hit. And Wilson 0 for 1. A strikeout victim in the second inning. That fastball 95 miles an hour to get in front on Wilson.
Again, the thing I like about Pedro with runners on base, not worrying about the base runner. He sets himself up. There's no slide step. There's no quick step. He's setting himself, getting his full delivery.
And nothing in one pitch is not foul, straight back. So Wilson's in a great big hole against Martinez.
I was at Cooperstown a few weeks ago when Carlton Fisk got inducted and all the Hall of Famers come back. And I got a chance to talk to Steve Carlton about that. And Steve said the one thing, if most pitchers will break their hands instead of setting themselves and getting a good thrust and delivery. That's what Pedro does. He gets a great delivery.
Cameron runs, and the breaking ball is on the corner for called strike 3. Seattle has yet to break through against the Red Sox right-hander. 2 men left, 5-0 Boston.
ESPN's
Over Seattle. More Labor Day baseball coming up on ESPN at 4 o'clock Eastern. It's the Phillies at the San Francisco Giants. San Francisco leading the West by 5 over Arizona. At 9 o'clock Eastern, the Pirates are at the Dodgers. Ray O'Leary, the batter, against Jamie Moyer, who was roughed up for 5 runs in the 3rd inning. Moyer zipped through the first couple of frames, needing only 21 pitches to do that. But in the last inning, 26 pitches. And what turned out to be a disastrous 3rd.
Well, yeah, a couple tough breaks. You know, the error by Olerud on a slip as he's going in to field the ground ball. And then the big one.
Great, but foul in a place at Fenway where you can grab yourself a cheap home run if you can hook one inside that foul pole.
Oh, yeah. The pesky pole down there.
Yeah. That's right. That's Johnny Pesky's pole. Hook one right inside there. Kyle Yastrzemski did that more than once in his glorious career. Popped up by O'Leary. And Guillen, the third baseman, will make that catch. So one down. Well, more Labor Day baseball on ESPN2. It's the New York Yankees taking on the Kansas City Royals. That's at 8 o'clock Eastern. Derek Jeter and the Yankees up against a very good hitting Kansas City club. A team of the future. A lot of great bats. Labor Day, a day for Major League Baseball, and Fenway is packed to the gills. We certainly wish Ray Knight, who is scheduled to work today, but took ill. We wish Ray the best. Ray, a speedy recovery for you, my man. Harold Reynolds playing the role of Superman today, doing a little bit of everything, and filling in, doing a great job for us this afternoon.
Well, thank you. And Ray, I hope you're feeling better, man. I'll give you a call later. You can count on it.
I figure with your schedule, you have time to pop down and see him down there in Georgia, down there in Old Benny. Say hi to Ray on the farm. Line to the middle and a one-hop stab made by A-Rod. And there are two down. Update time. Let's go to John Butchergrass in the studio.
All right, let's go to St. Louis. Vlad Guerrero had 4 hits yesterday. Bases loaded and swung at a bad pitch. And earlier in the count, there was a borderline pitch that he obviously didn't like, and he throws his bat. And then he threw his helmet right there. Then he got tossed, and then it's still 0-0 in St. Louis.
So Vladimir tossed out, throwing the bat in the helmet. He became Vlad the Impaler.
Wow. That's a pretty rare scene. You don't see him argue a whole lot, but he doesn't take a whole lot of pitches either. So
no,
he must have thought it was a strike. He thinks everything's a strike. If it's over his head or on the ground.
I don't know how you pitch that, man.
He's hacking.
Donnie Sadler 0 for 1. He's reached on that key error by Olerud, which started things going for Boston back in the 3rd inning.
Yeah, a couple things happened on that error. Jamie Moyer was in a nice little groove, and then you put him into the stretch, and it didn't look like he's quite as sharp out of the stretch as he's been out of the wind.
Fouled away by Sadler. Yeah, after the error, and Moyer going to the stretch for the first time today. Alexander singled. He walked Aaron Lewis, off him, and then tripled over the head of the slipping Mike Cameron. Then the double by Everett that almost got out, banged up high against the Green Monster. Then a single and an RBI for Garciaparra before the double play ball that ended the carnage. But he strikes out Donnie Sadler. Maybe back in a groove. 1-2-3 go the Red Sox. They've wrapped up 4 at the Fens. Boston in front by 5. Anyway, the Red Sox trying to do all they can to make it a perfect afternoon for their Hall of Fame catcher Carlton Fisk, whose number was retired today at Fenway. Is number 27. The Red Sox on their way to a victory. 5-0 they lead it, but still lots of baseball left, and the Mariners trying to creep back in it. Carlos Guillen with a foul back, and Veritek will have no play. Strike 1 on him, and then it's McLemore and Martin. And squaring off against Pedro Martinez, who bids for win number 16. The Red Sox have gotten to where they are, Harold, with pitching more than offense, to be sure. They're ranked 12th in the American League in batting, but number 1 in the majors in earned run average. Of course, it's fascinating. If you take Pedro out of that, they go from number 1 to number 5 in ERA.
That's the amazing year that he is having. Just get a look at Joe Kerrigan, pitching coach of the Red Sox right there. Pedro makes everybody's job a little easier.
Backing away again, in tight.
Probably the best thing is you look at the graphic there at Pedro versus the other starters is a 7.6 innings pitch, because now the bullpen gets a day off when Pedro pitches, and that's huge.
On the inside corner, but called strike 3. Guillen is punched out. That was right after he almost nailed him with a pitch.
Well, again, the pinpoint control. You know, you talked about not walking somebody since August 4th. Look at the fastball. Movement back inside. And that ball, it may not make it all the way back, but when you're around the plate as much as Pedro is and you have the reputation, you're going to get the call. Larry Young all over that call right there.
And you're already mindful of the heat because of the pitch before it, which knocked you off the plate. McLemore has flied to left and drawn the only walk that Pedro has issued on the day. Al Martin to follow him, 5-0 Boston.
What's tough of Pedro is before you blink, you're 0-1 or 0-2. Almost every at bat. Or very close to. He's 1-1 now, but that's what makes it very difficult to hit him. You can't sit on a certain pitch going, all right, I'm ahead in the count, I'm going to sit on this fastball here. You don't have an opportunity to do that.
A 1-1 pitch outside, 2 balls, 1 strike on McLemore. Here's Pedro's line, 4 1/3, allowing 4 hits. He's thrown 65 pitches. Now, it doesn't compare to what it was after 4 1/3 6 days ago and his start against Tampa Bay, where he carried the no-hitter deep into the game and struck out 13. But the velocity pretty good, 96 on that last Swifty.
Well, and here's the pitch I'm talking about. 3-1. McLemore should be able to pick out a pitch that he wants.
Flies that one foul down the left field line, and it's all filled up on McLemore.
And yet he's not able to be that specific with Pedro, because you don't want to go 3-2. He may drop a little hook on you or great movement on a fastball. Right there, that was a 3-1 fastball. Not quite on the inside half, but on the outside half enough to keep it where you're not going to keep that ball fair. (3-2) becomes a defensive account.
The payoff pitch, and he knocks it foul, getting a little piece. Again, a 96-mile-an-hour fastball. And Pedro's been building velocity-wise. In the first inning, we had him on a gun around 91. So he's loosening up.
Yeah.
Good news for the Mariners. He's starting to get loose. Fly to right field, very high, but not terribly deep. And Lewis right there for out number 2.
And that's the difference between 91 and 96. The first time McLemore faced him, he's throwing 91. So you're geared up in your mind to hit a pitch that's going to be 91 miles an hour. Now all of a sudden it's 96, and you go, whoa, I got to turn it up a notch. And now you're making adjustments throughout the whole at-bat instead of being able to sit there and say, okay, last time I got this at-bat, this time I'll be able to jump on this pitch. Doesn't happen.
Twice today, Al Martinez stood in against Pedro and flied out each time. Once to right, once to left.
Again, that's the 3rd hitter this inning that he started off with a breaking pitch for strike 1.
Nothing in 2, and on a change of pace pitch, look at what he took off. 82 miles an hour down around his ankle.
So you're going from a 96-mile-an-hour fastball to 82. That's 16 miles an hour, and it looks like a fastball coming out of the arm because he's got great arm speed with the changeup.
Got him. He had him from the first pitch. Strikeout number 6 for Pedro Martinez. The Mariners go fast, 5-0 Boston. Park on Labor Day, and the Red Sox have a 5-0 lead. So at the moment, all is well in Boston. As Manny Alexander flies one to right field, and Stan Javier hardly has to move out there. 1 down. Now, since Moyer got the double play ball of Bichette in the 3rd inning, after the last of the 5 runs were scored.
Well, I feel for Moyer because he's really throwing the ball quite well. I mean, the 1-inning blow-up, he did his job. He got the pop fly. Cameron just happened to slip, fall down. Looked like he was going to be able to wiggle out of it, maybe giving up 1 run and see what happens. And now, next thing you know, it's 5.
Darren Lewis 0 for 1. He's walked and scored today. Getting the nod in right field. He's been a hot hitter as of late. And he hit safely in 6 out of 7 at a 370 pace. A good veteran presence inside the Red Sox clubhouse and in their outfield. We talked about Moyer in this tough stretch that he's in right now. One of the worst stretches of his career, with an ERA up over 9.5 over his last 7 starts.
Well, he's always been the type of guy who's been able to figure it out. Eventually, he'll work his way through it. The main thing for Jamie is to continue getting reps and continue to have positive innings, because he's going to be a guy come the end of September, and if they make it to the playoffs, they're going to have to count on him.
Fouled out of play by Darren Lewis, and the count. 1 ball and 1 strike, 1 down, and the base is empty. Now, he's pitched pretty well, as you mentioned. He's only given up 4 hits, but defense has hurt him.
Well, right there you saw John Olerud first step, he slipped. And then you talk about the big slip. Mike Cameron right there trying to make the adjustment back. Falls down. 3 runs score on this play. It turns out to be a killer. But talking with Lou Piniella, we touched on this earlier, Dave, that fact was they have a bunch of finesse pitchers. And if they walk guys, and if they don't catch the ball behind them, that's when they get hurt.
Popped up on the infield as Guillen backpedals. Tells A-Rod he'll take it. 2 gone. Fans, this copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Office of the Commissioner of Baseball and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without express written consent. Go to MajorLeagueBaseball.com for the most complete baseball coverage on the internet. And I know Harold, and those long nights over in Bristol in the studio, you're surfing the net like a madman all the time.
I would sit here and say, yeah, definitely. And all the guys back there would be going, you lying.
You have a whole staff of surfers.
Everybody surfs that web. But you know what? We got every game on TV. I'm sitting there going, why do I search the net when I can watch the game?
Gotcha. Offerman has come up with that big triple. And a 3-run hit over the head of the sliding Mike Cameron in center field. He's also struck out. He had a very good year for Boston last season. Hitting .294, driving in 69 runs. It hasn't been the way of it for Jose this season. 5 homers, 30 RBIs. He's been beat up.
You get a little bit of a nick injury, and it seems to affect you really more so as a hitter than any other aspect of your game, because you have to use your whole body. You're going to use your ankles, your feet, your hands. And if you don't have that foundation, you're not able to attack the ball, you feel the difference.
Hit sharply, but Rodriguez with the stop. And the inning is done. So the second straight 1-2-3 inning for Jamie Moyer. A-Rod coming up to lead off the 6th at Fenway. Sixth inning at Fenway Park, Boston. It is 5-0 the Red Sox, despite just 4 hits, which is the same number Seattle has. But the Red Sox have Pedro on the mound, and he's going after Alex Rodriguez, Edgar Martinez, and John Olerud, the heart of the Seattle order here in the 6th inning. And Harold Reynolds, you get the feeling that if Boston is going to win this game by shutout, if they're going to hold Seattle back and keep them at bay, this is going to be a key inning for Pedro. Likewise for Seattle, if they're going to make any kind of a run.
Well, you would think that 3, 4, and 5 are the key to any lineup, and particularly these guys, because they do most of the damage. But again, you know, Pedro starts off 0-1 on a hitter again. He threw Alex Rodriguez a slider first pitch, got him strike 1.
Martinez has a couple of hits today, but A-Rod is 0 for 2 with 2 strikeouts.
You know, Dave, the other thing that Pedro has done so well is he ends every inning. So far today, anyway, he's ended every inning with a strikeout. And that just gives another defeated attitude to the team that he has just gave another strikeout to, in this case, the Seattle Mariners.
This time Rodriguez makes contact. Alexander cuts it off and gets it. Nice effort by Manny Alexander. 1 down.
Well, let's take a look at how Pedro has struck guys out. We'll just pick it up with the last strike. Right here against Alex Rodriguez, first time a changeup. He gets Dan Wilson with the fastball away. See him leaning out over the plate. Next time, Alex got him up high, chasing the ball out of the zone. Dan Wilson, nasty breaker off the plate. And then he gets Guillen, freezes him. And then Al Martin really had no chance. He threw him a slider, a changeup, and another changeup to sit him down. And there you see the 6 Ks of the day for Mr. Pedro Martinez.
He has not solved Edgar Martinez this afternoon. The 37-year-old designated hitter is 2 for 2. He's also stolen a base. So perfect day so far for Martinez, hitting .333.
Well, again, I find it really interesting how Edgar Martinez approaches every game and just knows what he's trying to do at the plate. For young hitters out there, you always want to have a game plan that's going to make you successful. And Edgar has come up with a little mechanism to get himself ready to hit.
I find his batting practice technique to be fascinating. I mean, actually taking batting practice with the donut on the bat. Have you ever seen anybody else do that?
I've never seen anybody else do that. And he's done that since I've known him. We played together in the minor leagues 10, 15 years ago. And he did it back then. You know, he's always been a master of figuring out how to make things work. And that's a way of getting his hands through the ball. He gets a feel for that. He takes one round with the donut on. The next round to hit the ball to the right side. Next round up the middle.
Hit sharply, but a friendly hop for Nomar. Garciaparra throws him out. And they say, and you know this firsthand when he takes BP with that donut on, he never hits the donut.
No, he doesn't.
How do you do that?
It's tremendous hand-eye coordination. That's how he does it.
Incredible. That makes his first out of the day.
For those of you who don't know what a donut is, that's a donut right there on the that area of the bat. That is the donut. Now he gets a red, nice, prettier one than that ugly beat-up one, but he uses the donut.
Olerud is 1 for 2 with a single and a line drive out to left field. We're talking about Martinez swing. This guy has one of the prettiest swings in baseball. Great balance.
He's got a real simple swing, so there's not going to be a lot of things that go wrong with John's stance. He'll set himself, and I've watched him hit for years, you know, playing against him when he was in Toronto, and even when he was in college at Washington State, I watched him. He sets his bat in the same place, and he's not much moving. He'll just go back nice and easy and let it come forward.
Got jammed and broke his bat there, so Pedro has claimed another one.
Well, the
count.
The other thing is you got to be awful strong to hit from where he stands. See how he tries to, he doesn't have a lot of movement, pull the hands through, and see how he had to cut his swing off? That's a Pedro Martinez fastball. Cut in on your hands will make you do that. Most pitchers he will get the bat through on. With Pedro, you got to make a little different adjustment.
Olerud's swing is so legendary among hitters that years ago Don Mattingly once studied Olerud's swing for some tips when Donnie Baseball was locked up in a slump. Good to see Don Mattingly in the old timers game the other day at Yankee Stadium. On a corner called strike 3, and Olerud frozen in the batter's box. 7 Ks for Pedro Martinez. The Red Sox up by 5.
This is
John, thank you very much. Here at Fenway, the sun is making a very rare appearance after all the New England rain in recent days. The sun trying to fight its way through the clouds. It's been a sunny day for Boston so far. They've retired Carlton Fisk's number, and the Red Sox have a healthy lead against Jamie Moyer and the Mariners. It is 5-0 Boston. Carl Everett has had a hand in it with an RBI double. He's back in the 3rd inning when the Red Sox got all of their runs, and he almost hit the ball out very high against the Green Monster in left.
Well, again, he's hitting left-handed off the left-handed Moyer. He got a slider to the first pitch for a ball right there, got a fastball. Moyer is yet to be able to locate a changeup against Everett on the left side, and that is why he's hitting left-handed off the left-hand pitcher, to take away that changeup. When you do that and you're standing on the plate like Carl, now you really got to get your mindset on, I'm going to look for a fastball in and adjust.
Everett with his 100th RBI earlier flies this one to right, and an easy play for Javier coming in. 1 up, 1 down.
So Moyer finally figured out a way to get in on him, got him out.
That's 8 in a row retired by Jamie Moyer. So if you remove the 3rd inning from his resume today, he's pitched a terrific game. Unfortunately, the 3rd inning might be his undoing. Nomar Garciaparra 1 for 2 with an RBI single. Nomar driving in a run for the first time in 16 games in the 3rd. That might be the only time in his career that anyone will be able to make that statement. Nomar failing to drive in a run for 15 games.
Yes, that was a long little 2-week stretch for him. And that's been a tough stretch. He was banged up, had the hamstring, came back, started to get back in the groove of things, and he's been moved up and down the lineup too. I think that has a little bit of an effect. He's finally starting to settle in, and hit third early in the year. Now he's hitting fourth. You can move him around a lot of different places.
Backs away and takes the strike. Garciaparra, the defending American League batting champ, won the batting crown last year, hitting .357. Trying to follow in the footsteps of other great Red Sox hitters who have won multiple batting crowns. Ted Williams won 6 of them. Kari Yastrzemski 3 of them. Wade Boggs did it 5 times. Since 1932, a Red Sox hitter has led the American League in batting on average about once every 3 years.
What's that tell you about hitting at Fenway Park?
Tells you it's a pretty good spot to hit, especially for a left-hand hitter. Of course, Nomar's the kind of guy who spreads it everywhere.
Yeah, you spray the ball around. Plus, there's not a lot of foul ground. That makes it difficult in that respect. I should say that helps out, not having a lot of foul territory, or you'll lose pop flies like, say, in Oakland. You hit a ball on foul ground. Here it's in the stands. In Oakland, it's an out. So that adds to another at-bat.
Base is empty here. 1 down, 6th inning. Dante Bichette on deck. Garciaparra has always hit Seattle well. Big swing and a miss, and down he goes. So Garciaparra strikes out. This would be a big win for the Boston Red Sox here. They all are in September when you're in the hunt. But look at the wild card race, how tightly bunched it is. The Indians leading Boston, and now the A's by 2. The Blue Jays by 2.5. And how about those Detroit Tigers, who've had a tremendous second half after a 9-23 start?
Yeah, that's amazing. You got to tip your hat to those guys not quitting. They very easily could have quit. They had some injuries early. They had easily injured. Tony Clark's been hurt. Higginson started off slow. And yet they battled all year long, and now that we're talking about them being in a wild card.
Jimmy Williams has led the Red Sox to the wild card each of the last 2 years. The Red Sox with a patchwork lineup this year, but a terrific pitching staff, and they have added Dante Bichette, who in 7 seasons in Denver hit .316 on average. Averaged 29 homers, averaged 118 runs batted in. This year, trying to kick that reputation as a Coors Field hitter. He's hit 16 homers right now in a bit of a drought. Only 4 home runs hit in about 200 at bats. Went for one there and missed it.
Well, the one thing about Dante, another thing I should say, I've said one thing a lot of times, another thing I like about him, you look at 255 career home runs, is that he's very patient at the plate. He makes contact, and once he will learn how a pitcher is attacking him, then he'll be able to battle back and make contact.
Right over his head as he ducked underneath it. Moyer almost plunked him.
Well, Jamie threw a fastball up and in by him earlier, and this ball just getting away behind him, 0-2. Dante, remember, he's moved right on top of the plate. We mentioned this. He's moved up even closer each at bat.
Pedro has eyes for that particular pitch up over the head of the hitter. Foul back.
Goes back with a changeup away. Well, I think, you know, the understanding that Pedro has of protecting, I think you look back at the incident in Cleveland when he got the suspension. He came back, retaliated right away, and I thought it was a pitch that was knocking the guy off the plate, but it was in a situation where his team was not in the pennant race like it is right now. Last week in the incidents down in Tampa, he said, hey, I got to win a ball game. I think that's what you would see again today.
Broken bat flare, and that's off into the seats. And a nice Labor Day grab by that fan. We're talking about that melee-fill game down in Tampa.
Well, this is in April back in Cleveland. This is the ball just knocking the hitter off plate. And then he had to retaliate and get Robbie Alomar. He ended up getting suspended for this. That was after one of his hitters had been hit. This is the first pitch of the ball game trying to get in on Gerald Williams. And now Tampa Bay retaliated 3 or 4 times during the course of this ball game. But Pedro understood, hey, I got to finish this game. And I think he's got the respect of his teammates. One thing that frustrates hitters, particularly in the American League, is when a pitcher does not show that he will protect you as a hitter. Pedro has well shown that he will do that, and I don't think he would have any incidences with making a decision to go after the hitters and get them out. With his teammates, I don't think there'd be a problem.
A phenomenal command, of course. He's only walked 28 all year. Interesting to note, he has hit 14 batters despite that great control outside to Bichette. I've talked to a lot of people with the Red Sox who were there at Tropicana Field in Tampa Bay, and they all say that there is no history between Gerald Williams and Pedro Martinez. There was no reason that he would throw at him, especially the first hitter in the game. So it was a pitch that got away, but his reputation preceded him. Fastball on the corner, catches him looking. But Moyer, since the third inning, has been untouchable. Yet still 5-0 Boston as we go to the 7th at the Fens.
Oh yes, a brilliant move. Galvez scampering up.
Top half of the 7th inning coming your way on Labor Day. Dave O'Brien and Harold Reynolds, your baseball hosts from ancient old Fenway. Stan Javier leading off against Pedro Martinez. A couple of flyouts for Stan today.
It's amazing watching Pedro. The Mariners finally say, okay, he's throwing first pitch slider. Let's go up and look for it. Stan goes up and swings. First pitch changeup. He's 0-1 once again to start another inning off.
And it's the way, and you've made this point today, that he has been concluding the innings that is every bit as impressive. In every single inning today, he has struck out the last batter to face him, and that's mindful of a great boxing match years ago between Sugar Ray Leonard and another Boston favorite, Marvelous Marvin Hagler. Remember how Hagler was beaten silly in the last 30 seconds of every round on a flurry of punches by Sugar Ray? Well, that was on purpose. That was the strategy that day to close out big.
Always try to keep your opponent down, and that's what Pedro has done. You know, so often we talk about after you get runs, the most important inning is when the pitcher comes back out to be able to get outs right away. But also that last out of the inning sends a message to that team that, hey, he is not fatigued and we got to keep coming back at him, and Pedro has been a giant.
The 1-2 pitch backs him away and knocks him down right over the shoelaces of Stan Javier.
Well, it's interesting because Stan tried to bunt the pitch before, and right here Pedro comes back with the fastball. Now we've seen this pitch right here inside to the left-handers all day long. To me, that's not a purpose pitch. I'm not trying to hit the guy. He's trying to throw a ball that's going to come back over and get a strike.
Ball off foul. Stan Javier's dad, Julian Javier, played for years with Stan Musial. And when he had a boy, he named him after Stan the Man.
And the man. Stan Javier has been a tremendous pickup as you get a good look at Lou Piniella. It's been a great pickup because he's played all over the diamond for them. You had Jay Buhner go down with an injury in right field. Stan played some right. He's played some center. He's played some left. Great addition. And he's got tremendous experience of coming off the bench, having been in the National League. You get a good look at Jay Buhner. You see the right wrist wrapped. He was getting a little treatment today, feeling a lot better after the collision in Seattle with second baseman Mark McLemore. And look for Jay to be back in the lineup soon.
Well, a nasty collision, and if Seattle's going to hold on out west, they've got to have him healthy and hitting home runs. The 2-2 pitch from Pedro. Slap foul again.
Here's a good look at the collision that Buhner and McLemore had August 16th. Watch McLemore. They'll cut to the same direction. Oh, my. Look at this here. Tremendous. And I kept saying to Jay, pick up the ball, man. Somebody pick up the ball right there and throw it in.
Oh, you're mean. You're heartless, Harold. Swung on and missed, and Javier becomes the 8th strikeout victim of Pedro Martinez today.
I played about 7 years with Jay Buhner. We never had a collision, you know, so I can give him a hard time like that. But again, look at this nasty pitch from Pedro. Another K, a little changeup to Javier. And Stan saw 3 different types of changeups. That's what's amazing about Pedro, is he's not throwing them all the same speed or the same movement. You're getting a different look almost every pitch. It's like he's throwing a wiffle ball.
Mike Cameron has singled and also flied to center field. Now, over in the National League, Maddox can get that kind of movement on his changeup, but nobody else in the American League, right?
Not that I've seen with the type of control that Pedro has been able to have.
Deep fly by Cameron. That ball well struck, way back, and it is gone into the net. There goes the shutout bid. Mike Cameron's 17th home run of the season. Perhaps it will not atone for that slip in the 3rd inning in center field. It cost 3 runs but he gets one of them back.
Well, he crushed this ball. Now, he just missed on the fastball right there and made the count 1-0. That's the difference between 0-1 and 1-0. Now you can sit on a pitch that you want to get, and this is the only mistake that he has made all day. Mike Cameron, great extension, and he knew he got it the whole way. You see the sunglasses because of the little overcast, and he stays with this ball, drives it out of the ballpark. And you're right, that may not atone for the air, but hey, makes you feel a little bit better on that flight to Toronto tonight.
Now, Seattle will not be shut out on this Labor Day, and Dan Wilson, a hitter, has gone 0 for 2. And he crushed that one up into the net. A solid 400-plus shot for Cameron.
You look back at the Seattle offense today, and really it goes back to the second inning. We talked about this while it was occurring. You had Edgar Martinez on second, John Olerud on first, and Javier, they tried to bunt, he fouled off, then they put on that little hit and run, and he ends up flying out in that inning, and Pedro pitched out of that inning. That was really the only threat that the Mariners have had all day, and it took the wind right out of their sail.
Yeah, lack of execution all the way around is hurting them. Even though Jamie Moyer is actually pitching a dandy. Hard to say that. He's given up 5 runs, but only 4 hits. The Red Sox are used to getting tremendous efforts from Pedro Martinez after a loss. They're beaten yesterday, as the journeyman right-hander Paul Abbott had them no hit into the 8th inning. The Red Sox would lose that game, but when you get Pedro the very next day, you have a chance to start a winning streak. Wilson will step out. In fact, since he joined the Red Sox, Pedro is 26-10 following a Red Sox defeat. Just about automatic. Another foul by Wilson.
And that's what you talk about with a true number 1. A guy who can stop a streak like that. And that's what Pedro's been able to do. That's what Roger Clemens does. Seattle doesn't have a true number 1 like they had with Randy Johnson. Randy Johnson was a streak stopper. That's what happens when you see teams going to long stretches. They really look at their pitching staff. Pedro gets another strikeout. Dan Wilson on the slider. But if you start looking at pitching staffs when teams go into stretches where they lose 15, 10 out of 15 and things like that, it's because they don't have a true number 1. Look at this nasty breaking ball. And Dan Wilson had no chance, again, changing speeds on the hook.
Wilson punches out for the 3rd time today. So 9 strikeouts as Pedro is 1 away from breaking into double digits yet again. And it'll be Carlos Guillen, who he has struck out 1 time, and Guillen's also flied to left. He's 0 for 2. Ball 1 outside. One ball and 1 strike. Pedro has allowed a solo home run to Mike Cameron here in the 7th inning. He's given up 15 homers, 13 of them solo homers. Fly to right field. And that's out number 3. But for the first time all day, Pedro doesn't conclude an inning with a strikeout. Mike Cameron hits one into the net over the Green Monster, and the Mariners are on the scoreboard. Stretch, and Troy O'Leary leads off against Jamie Moyer. And Harold, it's kind of remarkable when you look at Moyer's performance today. All of the runs, all 5 of them, and all of the hits against him, just 4, came in the 3rd inning. In every other inning, he's been perfect. He has thrown 5 perfect innings, 3 up, 3 down, and with that 3rd inning, has to be very frustrating for him.
Well, it really does. You always try to take something positive from the game. And I think if he looks back on this performance, he kept the ball down. He's throwing a nice changeup. He got a lot of ground balls. He got pop-ups. He didn't get line-outs. He's pitched really well. Outside of that 1 inning. But unfortunately, that's the way the game's played. You don't take away that 1 inning.
O'Leary lifts this one. And Gian, the third baseman, makes the catch for out number 1. Let's go to John Butchergrass now, back in the studio. John.
Back in 1967, the Red Sox played the Cardinals in the World Series. Who knows? The two could possibly meet again in October. The Cardinals are going to be in the postseason. They have a 9-game lead on the Reds, and Edgar Renteria empties the bases. A bases-loaded triple. 3-0 St. Louis. Back to Boston.
Big year for Edgar Renteria and the St. Louis Cardinals. And how about Jim Edmonds lately? Well, how about him all year? Veritek with a deep fly to right center. Cameron will not be able to get to this one, and it jumps up over the bullpen. So it'll be a double for Jason Veritek. And that's the Red Sox first hit since the 3rd inning. As he cranks one into the alley, an extra base hit for the Red Sox catcher.
That was a nice stroke. He gets a fastball on the outside half, and watch this approach. He'll go with this ball and finish up through. Good, strong, solid finish through. And I thought for a minute Mike Cameron was going to get a chance to run this ball down. He's got tremendous range, but this ball took off in the gap, bouncing to the bullpen.
Veritek, who was in the Seattle system just 3 years ago before the trade to Boston in 1997. Donnie Sadler 0 for 2. He's reached on an error and struck out.
And this is where it's got interesting for Jamie Moyer. He has not pitched well out of the stretch today, and that's what happened in the 3rd inning. We'll see how he's able to put it together right here in the bottom of the 7th with the run on second.
Popped him up on the infield. The second baseman McLemore drifting into right. 2 gone. The Red Sox have activity in their bullpen for the first time today. And Bryce Flory starts to loosen up, the right-hander. Sox bullpen has been very reliable indeed. Talk about reliable. Talk about lead pipe cinch with this guy. Pedro looking on. We'll see if he comes back out.
Well, if you're the Mariners, you're saying, hey, get that bullpen up, please. Anything is better than having to face Pedro the way he's been today.
Tossing a 5-hitter, 9 strikeouts. 13 times this year he has struck out 10 or more. But the decision up to Jimmy, and whether the manager, Jimmy Williams, will send him back out for the 8th inning.
Well, he knows his bullpen has been strong, and plus Pedro has not been of great health like he has in years past. 106 pitches already, so you want to get that pin up and make sure you don't want to ever get caught off guard, and that's one of the things that Jimmy Williams does so well. He thinks ahead in a ball game.
Cut on and missed on the changeup, and it's a fine line because it is still Fenway Park, even though you've got a 4-run lead. Get your ace out there, but in Seattle, you got Martinez, you got A-Rod. He's got other weapons on that bench if he wants to have Buhner come up and hit. I mean, there are a lot of ways for Jimmy Williams to think about this, but a 4-run lead at Fenway can disappear just like that. Although the bullpen has been very good for Boston.
No, you're absolutely right. I think you got to start looking at scenarios like that, and he's played enough games here in Boston to understand 4 runs is nothing. That can be done and gone in a blink of an eye.
I think the other thing at work in Jimmy Williams' mind, if he doesn't bring Pedro out to pitch the 8th inning, is the fact that Boston doesn't have another day off until September 25th. And if you have a chance to rest your ace, your main gun, you might have to take advantage of that. Fastball misses inside. Jose Mesa getting loose in the Seattle bullpen. The Red Sox trying to add another run here. Alexander singled in the 2nd inning. He would not chase, and that's ball 4. They'll put runners at 1st and 2nd. Well, the Oakland A's have a great big lead in their ball game today. Let's get a look at the American League West standings. And now the Mariners, losing here today, could walk out of here with just a 1.5 game lead over the Oakland A's.
Oakland's been coming on strong, and Seattle has really battled, but the team I think is going to be interesting is the Angels. You know, the wild card gives you an interesting scenario, but I think at this point in time, you don't give up on trying to win your division yet. You still keep your eyes on winning that prize and winning as many games as you possibly can.
Brian Price, the pitching coach. talking it over with Moyer. 2 men on. It's the first walk for Moyer since the 3rd inning, and just his 2nd in the game. So the Red Sox with a 5-1 lead. And do you think he will bring Pedro back? They right now don't have anybody warming up in the bullpen, and I think if they add another run or two, maybe they will lift him.
Well, I think with 106 pitches and the way he's thrown, that we probably will see him. He's kept his jacket on. He's still in the dugout. And Pedro's the type of guy who's going to say, no, you're not taking me out. I'm going to finish this thing.
Yeah, he's going to fight him. He'll fight Jimmy Williams tooth and nail to stay in there and look for the complete game to add to his Cy Young numbers. The decision time for the Boston skipper. Darren Lewis is 0 for 2. He's walked and scored today. He takes ball 1. Jason Varitek after the double, leading away from second. Alexander after the walk over at first. Pop foul, out of play. So for Seattle, it is on to Toronto to begin a key series against the Blue Jays. For the Red Sox, the Oakland A's come in.
And Lou's sitting here going, let me get loose here. I may put myself back in there.
Lou's had a little success in this ballpark as a hitter in his heyday with the Yankees.
Yeah, he can swing the bat, let me tell you.
Little blooper. McLemore backing up to make the catch. And the Red Sox strand 2. Pedro Martinez was wearing the jacket in between innings. Off it comes. He's coming out again. As we go to the top of the 8th tonight at 9 Eastern on ESPN Classic. This day in history, it's a look back at September 6th, 1995, as Cal Ripken Jr. became baseball's all-time Ironman by playing in his record 2,131st straight game, passing Lou Gehrig. That's tonight, 9 o'clock Eastern on ESPN Classic. Dave O'Brien and Harold Reynolds from Boston, where the Red Sox have used one big inning, a 5-run third against Jamie Moyer, to grab the lead, and only 1 run so far for the Seattle club on a Mike Cameron solo homer. Pedro Martinez is taking care of the rest. 9 strikeouts. He's walked a man for the first time since the 2nd day of August.
Well, that was his 108th pitch. He's still got a good fastball, so you see the good zip.
Line toward the alley. Lewis on the move, can't reach it. He one-hands it on a track. McLemore heading for second, and there with a double. So the Red Sox with a right-hander loosening in the bullpen. Jimmy Williams giving Pedro a chance at least 1 more inning as he comes out to pitch this 8th. But how much longer he'll go today, especially given an arduous schedule. The Red Sox.
Well, you get a good look at Lowell, the closer. Now, that was interesting because McLemore just turned on a 1-1 fastball for Pedro, and nobody's been able to do that the whole day. So maybe not as effective as I thought he was after he threw the 1 by him.
Now Martin stings this one, but Nomar stays down and slings it right over the head of McLemore for the out. 1 away.
Well, I've watched Nomar play some defense now for the last 3 weeks. He has really come a long ways in his defense. Setting himself, taking his time. He's made some spectacular plays, but right here, watch how he comes across the middle and circles the ball, sets himself, and comes across and makes the throw. That's a play he had not been doing previously. He'd catch the ball on the run a lot. He would sling it. He's really calmed down and setting himself and making good throws.
Yeah, it looked like he was about to fall asleep there. As A-Rod steps in, he's 0 for 3. A couple of strikeouts. Talking about the Red Sox September to come, and because of all the rain they've had in New England and other places where the Red Sox have played, they have 5 makeup games scheduled for this month. They turn that into 3 doubleheaders. And on top of a very difficult schedule of opponents to begin with, all those twin bills coming up, and very little rest for Pedro and his teammates.
Yeah, it can be taxing. It's tough to have to make up games this time of the year. You go through the dog days of August, you're a little tired. But you do have the September call-ups, and that's able to give you a little bit of a blow. It'll be interesting to see how Jimmy handles that and manages out the rest of the way. But you try to find a break anytime you can for the guys that have been carrying your club all year long, and particularly a star like Pedro. It's a good look at what you're talking about right there.
Yeah, teams at 500 or better, they'll play him 21 times. Below the 500 line, just 7 games, so not many gimmies for Boston. A runner at second, 1 down. And the 0-2 to A-Rod, and he dropped in the breaking ball to get him for the 3rd time today. 10 strikeouts for number 45.
Sometimes you just tip your hat and just say, well, nice job of pitching, and that's what Alex did right there. There's no chance. Look at where this breaking pitch starts. Pedro's falling off the mound. It's all the way on the he's all the way on the outside half of the plate, yet the ball's coming back over the middle. I mean, that's unhittable.
For the 14th time this season, he strikes out 10 or more, and 68 times in his amazing career. He's had trouble with Edgar Martinez today. Edgar with 2 singles and a ground out, and he pulls that foul.
What I found interesting about watching Pedro, you know, David Cohn has the nasty slider, and he'll change different angles on you. El Duque will do the same thing. Pedro will come the same angle almost consistently every time. Here's my fastball, here's my slider, here's my change, but he's coming from the same release point.
Foul to the right side by Martinez, and he's behind 0-2.
And the deception comes because he will change speeds on it. We've seen a fastball 91, then he'll throw one 93, and he'll throw one 97, or he'll throw you a changeup at 82 or 80 or 84. That's what keeps the hitters off balance, not necessarily all the different arm angles, but the speed in which he's able to throw all his pitches. Essentially, it looks like he's throwing 10 or 11 different pitches, when really he's throwing his 3 basic pitches.
Again, knocked foul by Martinez. And Pedro, unlike a lot of pitchers, has little calluses right at the top of his fingers, just below the fingernail. Is not where most pitchers get calloused. And they get them at different parts of the fingers, but that's because of an incredible touch on that changeup. The very tips of his fingers are really toughened up. Got him.
A's, C's, G's, and T's.
We're back to Boston, 5-1 Red Sox, and Dave, I believe this is probably it for Mr. Pedro Martinez. Moments ago, coming out getting greeted by his teammates. Great job. Another strikeout to end another inning. But here's the key. Jimmy Williams coming into your screen right here is going to walk over and shake his hand. Nice game. You don't just say nice inning. That's fine job, young man. I think you're through for the day.
He's through with 11 strikeouts. He struck out the last man to face him in the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th innings, and did it again in the 8th. So 117 pitches.
Well, now he's still got his hand wrapped up like he's going to pitch. Pedro, what are you doing? You're messing with us.
His ERA is actually going to go down from 1.68. He's going down the tunnel.
Yeah, he's done.
New pitcher on the mound for Seattle, the right-hander Jose Mesa. For years, the top closer for the Cleveland Indians. Working out of the bullpen for Lou Piniella, and he's appeared in a lot of games. This is his 58th appearance of the year. 77 strikeouts in 71 innings.
Well, I remember Jose Mesa when he was with the Baltimore Orioles as a starter. He was going to be one of their up-and-coming phenoms. So he made that adjustment as a starter, went to closing in Cleveland, and now he's a setup guy here in Seattle. So he's done a little bit of everything.
Offerman takes it low. Offerman on the day came up with the big hit. It was his triple in the 3rd inning that went sailing over a slipping Mike Cameron with the bases loaded. And 3 runs scored on it. He would be scored himself on a Carl Everett double. Then Everett would score on a Garcia Parra base hit. The Red Sox led 5-0. Even though Jamie Moyer pitched a terrific game in many ways. It was the one bad inning that did him in. Moyer went 7. giving up 5 hits. That's all, 5 runs. He struck out 5 and he walked 2.
Well, he's got to look at this game today and feel good about what he did. He had that 1 bad inning, and it's something to build on. He's got to start looking for things that are positive to get him turned around.
Offerman lifts a fly lazily to Martin, and now Martin puts that one to bed. 1 down. It's update time. Let's go to John Butchergrass in the studio. John.
Well, Sammy Sosa was a member of the Red Sox kind of for a while there in that post-strike, pre-lockout rule change thing, and Red Sox would like to see this. Oh, look at the catch and right by Sammy Sosa. It's 2-1 Cubs. Todd Helton update. He's now 0 for 2. He's under 390.
How about Sammy throwing some leather around? He's made a couple of home run robbing catches over the last week or so. Carl Everett is 1 for 3 with an RBI double. That came in the 3rd inning. So Everett getting to 100 RBIs on the year. He's trying to get back to postseason play for the 3rd year in a row. Derek Lowe, who has done a magnificent job for Boston. He gets loose in the pen.
Carl Everett is a phenomenal player. You know, a lot of times you watch guys on TV, you don't get a real feel for how their instincts are, how well they play the game. This guy's fun to watch when you come to the ballpark. Gives you everything he has. Got great range, great arm, good speed, and just the way he approaches at the plate. It's fun to watch Carl Everett.
What's interesting about Everett's career is for a 5-tool player, and no one in baseball has ever denied his skills. He has played for a lot of different ball clubs. Instead of hanging in there with 1 or 2 and being given a chance to develop, he's played with the Yankees and the Florida Marlins, also the Mets and the Astros, and now here in Boston. He pops this one up to A-Rod. Rodriguez with the catch, 2 down.
Yeah, that's the sad thing sometimes about baseball in general. You get a young player who's got great talent, and nobody wants to take the time to let him to develop. And so you end up bouncing around from club to club like Carl Everett has until somebody says, look, you get an injury or you get an opportunity to go ahead and play, and you put up some numbers, and so everybody says, oh, wow, he can play.
And he hasn't always had the greatest of attitudes. That's been well known throughout his career, and that's gotten in his way.
Time and time.
Garciaparra with an RBI base hit today. He's gone 1 for 3, but it had been a couple of weeks since Nomar had driven in a run. Now 75 runs batted in for the Red Sox shortstop. He's hit 13 career home runs against Seattle. More home runs than he has against any other opponent. Facing Mesa with the bases empty. And that one underneath the glove of Guillen rolls down the left field line. And Garciaparra reaches first base. Hard hit, but it ought to be an error.
Well, the way he played this ball, he backed up on it instead of attacking it. He's had a tough time here in Fenway playing third base. Now watch, this ball's going to catch him in between. He tries to turn off to the side. Oftentimes, when you get off to the side of the ball, you can read it a little bit better, but he didn't get his glove down, and that's the key. You always want to have your glove down and be able to come up instead of have your glove up and try to go down. He tried to go down from having it up, and the ball's by him.
The Mariners have committed a couple of errors today on the corners. Ian and Olerud, and also remember that huge play in center field where Cameron slipped and fell. So defensively, it has not been a good day for Seattle, and it's cost them.
It really has. They got to catch the ball. You want to have a chance to win, particularly with this pitching staff.
Dante Bichette 0 for 3. Grounds that one through the hole, and Garciaparra moving up. He's headed for third. Javier will not try and throw him out. So Dante Bichette has himself a single, and that puts him on the corners with 2 down.
Well, he just fought this ball off as it trickled through to the right side of the infield. Let's see, he's backed off the plate this time facing Mesa. Stays right through it, drives the ball through the hole, and now they got back-to-back hits because Nomar Garciaparra was given a base hit on that ball.
Well, a little friendly hometown scoring, you got to believe, as Nomar is given a gift single.
Well, he's going after the batting title, and we wonder why they win batting titles all the time in Fenway.
Yeah, this same guy's been scoring since 1932. It all comes together, doesn't it?
You always want those when you're at home, believe me, because you're not getting it on the road.
Here's O'Leary hitless today. The Red Sox trying to add a couple of more here in the bottom half of the 8th. And he takes a fastball strike. So it appears the afternoon is done for Pedro Martinez. And if that is the case, he'll go to 16-4 if the Boston Pen can hold it. Pedro has pitched 7 complete games. It doesn't appear as if he'll get a chance to pitch another one today, but that is all the complete games the Red Sox staff has. He owns all of them.
One-man wrecking crew.
Indeed. Fly to left, off into the corner. Martin on the run, looking for some room, but it's up into the stands.
And again, that's one of the things that I touched on earlier, why guys hit for such a high average at Fenway Park. That is a ball that's going out of foul territory. Anywhere else, that's an out. That's a caught foul ball, and it's an at-bat. Not here.
Not at Fenway. The ultimate hitter's park. Well, I guess now at Coors Field, and you got a couple of brand new parks that service hitters quite well. But in particular, if you're a left-hand hitter, look at all that room out in right center field, and a big wall in left that Wade Boggs used to play pepper with, and Nomar does it too. Nomar with a couple of hits today, at least officially. Mesa from the stretch. 2 down and 2 on. The Mariners certainly aware of the fact that the Oakland A's have had a big day in the 8th inning against Toronto. The A's ahead 10-0. Just low for a ball, and that fills up the count. 3-2. The catcher Veritek is up next. Garcia Parra at third base. Dante Bichette at first. Bichette takes off, and it's fouled away. Well, it's a rare day at Fenway when you can say we've had a total of 13 hits in the contest.
Yeah, you always think there's going to be a lot more, particularly on an afternoon day in Fenway, but the wind has not really blown here. Like we touched on earlier in the first inning, it hasn't blown the whole day.
Popped him up and playable. And Guillen to make the catch. So the Red Sox, for the second straight inning, leave 2. Those are the only 4 men they've stranded in today's game.
ESPN's 2-minute.
1 lead on Seattle as the playoff pursuit continues for both of these clubs. The day is done for Pedro as he goes 8 innings and gives way to Derek Lowe, who has been superb for Boston, about to appear in his 60th game. 31 saves. And outside of Mariano Rivera of the New York Yankees, this might be the best closer in the American League.
But he's got great stuff as far as getting a lot of ground balls. He's not your traditional closer that you think about that's going to overpower you. See Rico Brogna at first base.
John Olerud leading off the 9th inning. Seattle needs 4 to tie, but at least Pedro is gone. Martinez with 11 strikeouts. He tosses his 6th hitter over 8 innings. The only run off of a Mike Cameron solo homer into the net in left field, and he walked 1 man. That was the great upset of the day. He walked somebody.
Yeah.
And he's lowering his ERA, which was 1.68 at the start of this Labor Day game. Now, Olerud did manage a base hit against Pedro, a single in the second inning. He's 1 for 3. Grounds that one inside third, a fair ball and down the line. Olerud digging for a double. O'Leary digs it out, but John Olerud has a leadoff double. So still a pulse here for Seattle with the 2-base hit.
Well, we talked all day about how quick you can score runs. Great piece of hitting right there by Olerud.
Well, the number 27, Carlton Fisk, retired today. No Red Sox player will ever wear that again. Fisk honored down on the field in a great ceremony. The Red Sox also honoring him with their caps and the number 27 on the baseball caps, and also on the bases where Carlton's number 27 resides today. A great day for a New England star, a guy who was born and raised in New Hampshire, in the foothills of New Hampshire, and said he always wanted to play for the Celtics. He was a great high school basketball player. And said it was the Celtics, not the Red Sox originally. It turned out rather well for him. Javier with a blooper. On comes O'Leary to make the catch. Chasing Olerud back to second, one gone. Well, coming up next on ESPN2, the 2000 Cruise Auto Auction, immediately following the Red Sox and the Seattle Mariners.
Number 44, the center fielder, Mike Cameron.
So Pedro Martinez, right after a Red Sox defeat, the Red Sox were very nearly no hit for the first time in 35 years at Fenway Park. That's how long it's been since a no-hitter here. He comes back, and assuming Lowe does his usual good work, the Red Sox are going to be 27-10 when Pedro takes them out after a loss, since he joined them right before the '98 season. Hit sharply, but a good stab by Alexander. Low throw and a good dig by Bronya at first base. And Olerud stays there.
Very subtle move by Jimmy Williams, but he puts Rico Bronya in the game. It's a 5-1 ball game, and right there it pays off. You bring Derek Lowe, the ground ball pitcher, in the game. You know you're going to get a little action. Rico Bronya with a nice pick. Jimmy always thinking ahead, and that's what I like about the way he manages the game. Manny Alexander stays, whoops, almost missed that, stayed down, but watch the pick by Bronya. Stays there, sweet pick. Again, the good look at the scoop and just pick and come back with the play.
So the Red Sox are 1 out away from a victory here, which would apparently keep them right in line with the Cleveland Indians, because the Indians have a 4-0 lead over Tampa Bay in the 7th inning. Boston started the day 2 games behind the Indians in that wild card race in the American League. The happiest guy in the ballpark right now has to be this man, Dan Wilson, because he's not facing Pedro Martinez, who struck him out 3 times.
And him and Alex Rodriguez both, he got him 3 times. It's always nice to see somebody different after you're struggling.
Pedro dropping his ERA today from 1.68 to 1.61. And a foul ball by Wilson. Olerud at second base, 2 out, and the fans around the fence begin to get on their feet, as they were a couple of hours ago during the ceremonies, saluting Carlton Fisk. Struck him out to end the ball game. Another Red Sox strikeout by a Boston pitcher. Jimmy Williams grabs the win. The Red Sox 5, Seattle 1. That's your final. And all of the Boston runs came in the 3rd inning and made them stand up. Pedro is magnificent today, and a game the Red Sox desperately needed to have. With their ace on the mound, you know they felt great coming in. But they'll keep pace with the Indians, and if the Indians blow their lead against Tampa Bay, the Red Sox could be just a game back in the wild card standings. We'll continue with more from Fenway Park in Boston in just a moment. Again, your final, the Sox 5, Seattle 1, and we'll be back right after this.